Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, commissioners and staff, and welcome to the Board of Adjustment special meeting of Monday, November 9th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. via webinar session virtual meeting. Please stand for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chairman Baxton, may I proceed, sir?
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Paterson Board of Adjustment meeting on November 9, 2020. This notice requirement of the Open Public Meeting Law has been satisfied with respect to this meeting, specifying the time, date, and location included in the annual notice adopted at the reorganization meeting of the board, filed with the city clerk of the city of Paterson, posted in City Hall, and mailed to at least 2 newspapers in accordance with the provisions of the law. I will now read call the commissioners for roll call. Commissioners, Commissioner Dumas.
Present.
Someone has to mute their mic, please. Commissioner Furman,
Present.
Commissioner Hodges, Commissioner Hodges, Commissioner Levine,
Here.
Commissioner Minaudo. Okay, Commissioner Rohim,
Here.
Commissioner Watkins,
Present.
Commissioner Hodges, are you there, sir? Okay, I do not see him on. We will proceed one more time. Commissioner Minaudo, are you present? Okay, so Commissioner Hodges is absent and Commissioner Minaudo is absent, and Chairman Baxton.
Present.
We have 6 commissioners present this evening.
No.
We will begin with the agenda. Notice pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act addressing effect of coronavirus measures on the next public meeting, consistent with the coronavirus-related restrictions of Executive Order Number 107, given on Saturday, March 21st, 2020, by Governor Philip D. Murphy. The Board of Adjustment of the City of Paterson will not conduct in-person participation of the public at all future meetings until further notice. However, public participation will be available by means of communication equipment pursuant to NJSA 10-4-8, commencing on Wednesday, April 23rd, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. Though there may potentially be a practical need for a limited number of administrative, technical, or other city personnel to be present in or near the council chambers, 3rd floor, City Hall, 155 Market Street, Paterson, New Jersey, in-person participation of the public is prohibited. Nevertheless, for reasons of compliance with the said Executive Order Number 107, public participation will be available by calling 1-973-321-1579, meeting ID number 711-680-0071. That number again is 1-973-321-1579, meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Board of Adjustment special meeting of Monday, November 9th, 2020 at 7:30 p.m. On the date and time that the meeting is scheduled to commence, the public may also participate in the meeting by accessing the website of the City of Paterson, www.patersonnj.gov, and following the email link for the meeting, www.patersonnj.gov/Board of Adjustment. On Monday, November 9th, there will be a special meeting of the Paterson Board of Adjustment, which will be held at 7:30 p.m. via webinar session. The following matter will be heard. 141-147 Crooks Avenue, LLC, rescheduled from October 1st, 2020 meeting. The address is 141-147 Crooks Avenue, Block 7008, Lot 3. 144-146 Knickerbocker Avenue, Block 7008, Lot 23. 146-148 Knickerbocker Avenue, Block 7008, Lot 24, and 193-195 Knickerbocker Avenue, Block 7006, Lot 4. This application is to construct a new 5-story mixed-use building to accommodate 4,344 square feet of ground floor retail, parking, and 32 residential apartments on a 100 by 100 foot lot located in the B2 zone. Parking is for 14 vehicles, which will be provided on the first floor at 193-195 Knickerbocker Avenue. The second through fifth floors will contain 8 two-bedroom apartments per floor, for a total of 32 two-bedroom apartments. The applicant is providing 33 on-site parking spaces and 14 parking spaces at 193, 195 Knickerbocker Avenue, whereas 86 parking spaces are required. The 75-foot by 100-foot lot, 144-148 Knickerbocker Avenue, is located in the R-2 zone. The proposed use for the lot is a driveway to access the site. Crooks Avenue is a county road. This is for use, bulk, and site plan, and including Passaic County Planning Board review in the B2/R2 zones. Is the applicant present?
Yes, good evening, I'm Mayor Rotundo, on behalf of the applicant. The applicant is ready to proceed. Madam Chair, do we have 7 commissioners at this point?
At this moment, I will call again, Commissioner Minato is present.
Okay.
Are you there, Commissioner Minato?
Yes.
I'm sorry, can't talk. One by one, please, by your mic, if you're not on. Thank you. Commissioner Hodges, are you there, sir? Okay, so Commissioner Hodges is still absent. You have 7 commissioners present, Mr. Maricopa.
Okay, thank you, we're ready to proceed. Again, good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners and staff. We thank you for hearing us on a special meeting this evening. Obviously, this is a project which the applicant has put a great deal of work into, and as you can see, has made modifications with respect to gaining additional on-site parking on the site. We'll be calling several witnesses this evening. The Office of Heritage Architecture as our first witness for site plan testimony. Mr. John Kurak of Stonefield Engineering with regard to traffic, and as well as John McDonough, our planner, and the applicant at conclusion of the testimony as well. The site and project speaks for itself. It's primarily in the zone that, as described in the B2 zone. It's a very clear-cut design for providing good opportunities for new housing and component as well for the retail as well. I feel that this project is very much in keeping with the long-standing trend in streetscape of the Crooks Avenue, but it's become primarily a business corridor. At this point, we'll be calling Nasser of Heritage Architecture as our first witness. Good evening.
Hold on one second. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
State your full name for the record.
Sure, it's Nasser Al-Mukhtar, ALMUKHTAR.
Mr. Chairman, Nasser, good before this board on numerous occasions, will be a recitation on his credentials. Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, you accept his credentials?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nasser, obviously you've had an opportunity to be involved in this project from its inception, is that right?
Yes, that's
And
correct.
the site plan as presently constituted represents your final work presenting to the board this evening, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, could you give us an overview of the site, what it presently contains, and how we propose to develop it?
Mr. Maricopa, it's Gary Paparosi. I'm sorry to interrupt, but can we go over? I'd just like to go over first the latest revision, because it seems I didn't send out my latest report. I sent out a revised report, but then it was revised again. So I would just like to clear the field before Nasser starts his testimony. So Okay, now, so I have the latest revision as 10/22/2020. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I did make a report, but unfortunately, I didn't change the date, so I thought it went out. So if I can just quickly, Mr. Mariconda, just go over the variances because
Right,
two things. One, I believe the applicant brought another lot,
correct.
which now, you have 75 feet along Knickerbocker instead of 37 and a half.
Right,
And obviously, you have the other parking down at Knickerbocker. So I would just like to quickly go over those and then I'll let Nassau continue. Is that good? Okay. I have, the first variance I have is obviously the use.
yes,
Then I have lot area where, it was 17,000, now that is not a variance anymore. You have 17,500 square feet, so that variance is gone. Lot width, 150 feet is required, and you have the 100 feet along Crooks Avenue. That's still there. Minimum setback on Crooks is 25 feet, and 0 is provided. The minimum setback on Knickerbocker is not applicable, so that one drew up, but that one is not needed.
right,
Minimum side setback for one is 15 feet, 0 is proposed. Minimum side setback for both is 30 feet, and 0 is proposed. I got the rear setback where 20 feet is required and 4 feet is proposed. I have the floor area ratio, 1.4 is the maximum. On my report, it says 3, but it went down to 2.2 because of the additional coverage, right? Okay.
yes, we agree.
Yes.
The maximum lot coverage is 20%. I had 66.1 on mine, but with the additional lot, you're down to 51%.
Yes,
Okay, parking, the requirement is 86 spaces. I know, Nassau, you have a 47, I thought it was 46, and I'll explain that later, but as long as we're in the same ballpark there.
yep,
Okay, density, only 50 units per acre, 15 are allowed and 34 proposed. I have no parking 3 feet to the property line and 0 is proposed. And then there's an open space where 8,000 was required and we'll go over that. You have 850 proposed, but we'll go over that. So that's what I have. Do you agree, Nassau?
I'm sorry, Mr. Paparas, can you repeat the density variance now as the new one?
I think the density was 50 per acre, and so 15 are allowed, and you have 32. If that's that's what you have as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. All right, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just you didn't get that last report only because it was revised twice. The third revision, the date wasn't changed, and I wanted to just make sure everybody was okay. All right. You can continue. Thank you.
I'm having, excuse me, everyone, I'm having an echo really badly here. I need someone to mute their mics and not push the mute.
Everybody mute their mic, please. Mag, mute your mic, please, as well, for a moment. All right, now you continue.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, Mr. Paparazzi, for the update of the variance, because we were discussing those variances, and it was lower because of the fact that we added the 3,750 square feet facing Knickerbocker Ave. So the project is mainly located at 141, 147 Crooks Avenue, and this is located in the B2 business district. However, the rear of the property, which is facing Knickerbocker, is in the R2 district, which by the way, it now is only parking. The building does not encroach onto the R2 zone. I think this is important. We're keeping the building only on the B2 zone. And obviously, understanding the parking, we try to make as much parking as possible on site. And previously, we had 33 parking spaces total. On site was minimal.
Excuse me, Mr. Akhtar, can you please post your plans for me, please, for the public?
Oh, sure. I apologize. Yes, sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Do you see it now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to zoom into onto the zoning map. The lower portion of this site location facing Crooks Avenue is in the B2 district, as I mentioned before. In the rear, which is the parking lot, is in the R2 zone. And also, we have added another lot, which is 193 Knickerbocker Avenue, and this would be used for parking only, and this would contain 14 additional parking spaces. So the total before, we were having 34 parking spaces, I believe, and now we have 47. I don't think I need to go over the variances because Mr. Paparazzi mentioned them.
Right, they'll be covered by our planner as well.
And they will be covered by the planner. I'm going to zoom into the proposed site plan. And as you can see, this depicts the parking spaces, and we have provided 2 handicap parking spaces as well as 8 tandem parking spaces for a total of 33 parking spaces on site. There would be a rear entrance to the apartments up above on the second floors, and then the first floor would be used for retail. So the first floor would be retail plus parking.
And retail permitted use in the B2 zone?
Retail is a permitted use, as apartments are also permitted use in B2 zone.
Right.
The second page deals with typical standards that would be, as per the state, county, and the city of Paterson engineering departments. And it also shows the handicap parking spaces, signage, the stop sign, traffic regulation signage. Oh, sorry. And then the third page is the lighting, the site lighting plan. So we are proposing to provide parking, lighting along Crooks Avenue to provide for safety. And also sufficient lighting to comply with the city of Paterson requirements alongside the parking lot. And we do have all LED lighting fixtures, energy efficient. We're also providing the required soil erosion and sediment control plans, and those are the coverages for the lighting and the types of light fixtures that we're proposing. And then we have all the stormwater calculations. The Crooks Ave is a county road, so it would be reviewed by the state, county, as well as the city engineer. And those standards are per the county requirements, which is very strict, but we do comply with those requirements. And then the 193 Knickerbocker Ave, 193-195, there's currently a 2-story dwelling. This would be demolished. And in its place, we are proposing to provide 14 parking spaces that would be belonging to the project.
And how would they be accessed from on off-site?
Yes, a curb cut on Knickerbocker Ave.
Okay.
And now we go to the floor plans. I'm zooming onto the first floor. It will have an elevator, also stretcher type elevator. So it's a minimum of 3,500 pounds capacity. 2 staircases for egress purposes as required by code. And then the rest would be 4,344 square feet for retail spaces. We would have up to probably 5 retail spaces. Obviously, this is depending on the tenancy. They could rent 2 spaces or 3 spaces depending on the tenant that we get there. The second through fifth floors are replicable floors. They are similar. Each floor would contain 8 two-bedroom units. They vary in size between 914 square feet to 1,070 square feet, and all those square footages are above the minimum required by the City of Paterson zoning ordinance. All the units would be handicap accessible. It would have an adaptable bathroom. The kitchen is also, you can see the clearances there noted. And also each unit will have its own washer dryer. And then we have the roof pad which would contain condensers. Oh, sorry, I apologize. And then the front elevation, this is, I'm zooming onto the front facade that would be facing Crooks Avenue. And it would be a combination of brick and cultured stone, or maybe thin brick. We haven't decided, this could change. I don't want to commit to a material, but
Right.
obviously it will be developed later on. But we are committed to providing an aesthetically pleasing building.
And this mixed-use character up front of the building is typical of the surrounding area as it's developing on Brooks Avenue?
Yes, there are a couple of new structures coming up. There's actually a 4-story building, also retail and apartments.
Right.
That is, I believe they got the CO that we did a couple of years ago. They just finished the structure.
Okay.
So it's kind of similar in approach to that building.
Okay.
This is the rear, and those are the side elevations. Also, I should mention that security cameras would be installed throughout the front and the parking lot. And in the corridor also for the building. I'm zooming into the security camera here. So the entire structure will be equipped with security cameras.
Right. Now, the retail uses, of course, are not determined as yet, but they would have uses that are permitted within the zoning ordinance limitations for the B2 zone, correct?
Yes,
I know the applicant has absolutely no intention of a liquor store. You can confirm that, but you agree?
that's correct.
Right. Nothing of that nature at all.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else you wish to add as far as your basic site plan?
Basically, I think I went over everything I, whether it was,
All right, again, Mr. McDonough will be covering our rationale with respect to our variances. The access to the on-site parking is, of course, Brooks Avenue. I believe you mentioned that. Is that right? The on-site parking?
the on-site parking is access through Knickerbocker.
I'm sorry, Knickerbocker, as well as the off-site.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so, is that parking access, in terms of your, maybe the county will review this, but ingress and egress function smoothly on your site plan?
Yes, actually, the county usually restricts us. If there is any possibility of an access on an other road, other than the county road, then that's what I would require. So I don't believe the county would have any objection to this access.
So this access, ingress and egress is designed to hopefully, be looked upon favorably by the State County Planning Board as well.
Yes,
So as not to interfere with traffic flow on Brooks Avenue, I would assume.
that's correct.
Okay. Will that be all? Any questions?
Yes.
Okay, we're available for any questions by staff or the public. bearing in mind that this is strictly site plan architectural testimony at this time.
Yeah, this is Jonathan Hodges. I'm listening to let you know I've been listening on the phone.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Chairman, I'm sorry.
Yes, I,
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Okay, now, so just a few things. On the plan, let's see, T-01. And the plan dated 5/18/2020. You show 850 square feet of open space. Now, that was on the plan dated 5/18. But then you went to tandem parking, and your plan from 10/22 still calls 850 square feet, can't be. You see it? It's in the middle of your page on T01. You went to tandem parking, and you still called the same 850, right there.
Oh, okay, I see it.
So that has to change, you don't have the 850. Okay?
Yeah, Mr. Capraz, there is also an open space on the right side. I will update it.
Right, because that is not 850. And the open space, if you're gonna put benches there, just show it as open space so it's usable. Okay?
Very good.
I will update it, no problem.
Okay. The second thing I wanted to do was sheet SP-04. Okay, that's additional off-site parking that you provide. Okay?
This one?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, I'm going to suggest make the aisle 24 feet and the parallel parking 8 feet, which is code. And 24 feet is code for two-way traffic. So you need to just move that over, and parallel parking could be 8 feet by 22 as per RSIS. So, and if we make that 24 feet, we'll have the two-way aisle width, which is required for RSIS as well.
Yeah, so it would be compliant, yes, absolutely, we can update that.
Right, but I do have a problem with your first space, the first parallel space. You have parallel parking, and people will be backing into that space and entering the site at the same time. That in my opinion, that is potentially dangerous. I don't like that one. It would be better if it was parallel, but obviously it can't be. At least a parallel, you're not backing, you can see it coming and not back into traffic. Whereas in this instance, you're going to be pulling forward, you're going to have a car behind you, and you're going to be trying to back into a spot that is right by the entrance, which I think is really not workable. So I think I would reduce that to 13 and have your total of 46 instead of 47, because of safety reasons.
Mr. Paparazzi, we acknowledge your point on that. What I'd like to do is just reserve our agreement on that, subject to Mr. Kurak, our traffic guy, confirming it's on the record.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so, okay,
Okay.
let's see, the retail parking, you mentioned about, the retail spaces, rental spaces. I know, Mr. Maracanda said there are no bars, but, if there's gonna be any restaurants or, like, Dunkin' Donuts or, Starbucks, where seats are in the, retail, that changes the parking analysis, because parking would then be, instead of square footage, based on seats. Same as salons. So we need to narrow that down unless, Alan, if you're gonna have, the applicant testify that, restaurants, seats, salons will not be a part of that analysis, because right now, in my analysis, your 40 parking spaces short on Nassau is your 39. If you include seats, that number can be greater. So, you need to have that factored in now, you understand what I'm saying, Mr. Maracon, because we've gone through this, before on different application. Whenever you have retail, and by the way, Mr. Maracon, those restaurants and those, Dunkin' Donuts and salons are permitted in the B2, so that's why, you can't leave it open like that. So, I would need that to be, addressed as well.
What we're gonna do is, while we proceed with questions, we're gonna be addressing that with the applicant to confirm, or not confirm that he's agreeable to not only no liquor stores, but also if he's agreeable to no restaurants or salons with seating. So we can clarify the parking variance for you hopefully shortly.
Yes, okay, alright. We'll bring over those, and I know, John will be, addressing the variances. I just wanted to make sure I covered everything with Nassau, so just, okay, also, obviously you increase the, refuse and recycling area, which makes sense, because I'm in agreement with that. But also, since you need two spaces, per unit, 4 of those spaces are tandem, so you lose that 1-to-1. I'm just noting that, and I know that Nassau knows that. The other off-site parking that is being provided is, if you go from the center of the lot to the door, you're looking at roughly, 350 feet. So, I guess John will address that as well, but, I wanted that to be stated, because that lot is down the block on Knickerbocker, where the additional 13 or 14 spaces will be, added. Okay, and any issues with that, Nassau, or body of testimony?
I just want, like, the opportunity, we'll speak to our client regarding the nature of the B2 uses.
And the one parking space, okay. All right, yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to just put that out there for now. And we can always, okay. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman, for Nassau. If there's any questions from the board members on that, the architect's plan that I can answer, or Nassau, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Is there any commissioners that have questions for the architect? Yeah, Mr. LaRocca, could you open it to the public, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Ladies and gentlemen of the public, if anybody has questions of this witness as to his testimony, you will have an opportunity at the very end, if you want to give a comment, to give comments and statements. Now is not that time. If you have questions with regard to the testimony you heard, please call 973-321-1579. And when prompted to, please enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Once again, to ask questions about the testimony you just heard, please call 973-321-1579. And when prompted to, enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Let's give it a couple minutes to see if anybody calls.
This is Jonathan Hodges again. I started my listening on phone, and now I managed to get into the into online. So now I'm in meeting online. I did hear the last portion of the initial architect's report.
Did you say you heard you
Yes.
heard? Okay.
Yes.
Madam Secretary, can you please mark Commissioner Hodges as present, please?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, Dominic Rolano.
One moment, let me just finish the public.
Meg, do we have any callers?
We do have one caller coming in. One more second, please.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, Dominic Rolano.
Go ahead.
The question I have is there has been testimony discussed about parking, but will the planner be providing a more detailed explanation of the parking?
Absolutely, we have a witness and a planner to cover those issues. Mr. Rolano, you're from the city of Clifton?
I am. I'm the city manager for the city of Clifton.
Thank you.
I'll hold my comments or my questions for the planner then.
Madam Secretary, any calls?
I do have a caller. Lee Mondelli. If you can just give me a few more minutes, please, because it takes a little delay. 30 seconds, maybe.
Hello? Hello?
Who's talking? Who's speaking?
Yeah, hi, Nazi Mohammed, I live at 126 Knickerbocker Avenue.
Please.
Hold on 1 second. Wait, hold on here. Now, sir, please stop sharing your screen. Everybody sees all. Hold on 1 second, sir. Now, sir, please stop sharing your screen.
You see it now?
Well, now we see the drawing. You see it showing your emails and other stuff and so on.
Hold on, one moment.
Okay, please proceed, sir.
Okay, I don't know how this is going here, but I hear someone speaking. No one's saying anything. Is this him? Can you hold on 1 moment?
Move on to the next caller, please, Maggie.
I know, but I have some background that I'm having a problem with. So just bear with me, please. Mr. Mondelli? I muted him. Mr. Mondelli, can you unmute yourself, please?
Can you hear me, Becky?
Yes, I hear you now, Mr. Mondelli. Proceed.
Okay, good evening, commissioners. I was trying to log in, so I might have missed a couple of the answers already.
But, hello, now, sir, if you could show us, where the trash and recyclables are?
Mr. Lee Mondelli, can you please, spell out your name for the record and your address, please?
Sure. Lee Mondelli, Mondelli, Paterson, New Jersey.
Address, please?
Address, sir.
Knickerbocker Avenue, Paterson, New Jersey.
What's the number?
Can I have the number, please, of your home, please? For the record?
17.
I'm sorry.
27 Knickerbocker Avenue.
27, okay, thank you.
Knickerbocker Avenue. Yeah, hello?
I need you not to speak, sir.
Oh, you want me to be quiet? Okay.
I will call you once this gentleman has finished speaking. Proceed, Mr. Mondelli.
Thank you, Maggie. Where I said before, good evening, commissioners. I was walking on, and some of the questions might have already been answered. However, I didn't get a chance to hear it. If, Mr. Nasser, if you could please show me where the trash and recyclable area is on your, map.
Yes, I'm going to zoom onto it now. Now, this is the proposed site plan that you see in front of you in the middle of the screen. And then I'm zooming onto the recyclables and the waste area.
Okay.
So it's off of the parking lot.
Okay, so if I could ask, if you could leave it there if you could zoom it back in again, please. You zoom back in on that, please. Thank you. From that receptacle to the front entrance, how far would that be? Do you have an estimate?
From the street to the recyclable?
Well, no, from the entrance of the building where the residents would come out and throw their trash. That would be where they would throw their trash, right? The residents?
No, it's about, there are two entrances for the residents, so one of them is about 5 feet away. And the other one is about 24 plus 18, so it's about 42 feet. So two
Okay, that would
entrances.
be just for the, I'm sorry, you need to disrupt.
That's the access for the residents, correct?
Okay, all right, moving on, if you could tell me how many tandem parking spots you have on site?
8, 4 and 4.
And that would cover how many, of your apartments there? The 8 was for 4 apartments?
It depends on who is going to use those 8 spots.
It'll depend on the needs of the tenants, of course.
This is Gary Wilson. Nassau, you can't share.
Hold on a second. Somebody's got their mic on. There's yelling in the background. Everybody mute their mic other than Gary right this moment who's speaking.
Thank you, the television is on. Please shut your television off.
No, it's not me, stop it.
Matt, disconnect the other person out and they can call back if they want. Disconnect them.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Laraca. Nassau, and Alan Maracanda, the tandem spaces cannot be shared by different units. That's just impossible. So that's for 4 units. The 8 spaces are for 4 units. It's not possible to share that. They know that, and it's just not possible. So,
We agree with that. We're
Okay.
just indicating, depending if any particular tenant did not have any need for parking, which tenants would get the tandem spaces, that's what I meant.
right, but it can only be for 1 unit or 2.
We agree.
Okay, all right, I'm good. That's
Can I continue? May I continue?
Yes,
Yes. May I back? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
Okay, all right. So how many parking spots do you have on site for the apartments itself, total? Besides the 8 tandem spots, how many spots do you have for the total project on site?
on site we have 33 plus we have 14, which is, we might, as per Mr. Paparazzi's recommendation, we might take out one space, so it would be 13 off-site and 33 on-site.
Yeah, but how many on site? Oh, that's my question. How many
33.
on site?
33.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're breaking up. I can't hear you.
33, as per
Repeat
the
that again.
testimony.
33?
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to the off-site parking. How many off-site parking sites do you have? Is it just the one?
14.
I'll ask my question again. How many off-site parking spots sites do you have? Do you just have the one site? Off-premises parking, the one site? The parking on the Baccarat, the one at 193 or whatever it is?
Mr. Mandel, we have 14 off-site, like I explained earlier.
Yeah, there's 14 parking spaces with one site. One site, 14 parking spaces. That's what Mr. Bassler is telling you, Mr. Mardelli.
Okay, it's difficult because it keeps on breaking up, and that's at 193, 195 Knickerbocker Ave, correct?
Yes.
So, can you tell me how far from the entrance of the building where the residents are going to be entering the building to that parking area, how far away is that approximately?
We have about 600 feet.
600 feet?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's quite a walk.
Well, this is not going to be for the residents. Most likely this will be for the employees of the retail stores and,
It's not intended as a primary residential parking.
Okay, so that's only for the employees?
Primarily, yes.
Primarily. Okay. Just give me 1 second. So, talking about the retail, how many stores are you anticipating to have?
Going back to the site plan, Mr. Nasser will point that out again. We covered this earlier, but Master, how many spaces are potentially set up?
we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I also alluded to the fact that there might be a tenant that would occupy 2 or 3 spaces. It really depends on tenancy, but the total is 4,300 square feet for retail.
These are intended as small service businesses.
Yes, it's not huge.
Okay, so to your customers, where are they going to park? If this is the question for
Well,
you.
we're going to be talking about the planning and parking and traffic testimony that's to follow. But again, we have the off-site capability, which will be primarily employees and or potentially customer parking. So we're going to work that into our later testimony as well.
Okay, and who's going to be addressing that issue?
We've got a traffic expert as well as a planner.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mr. Mondelli. I'd like to proceed with another caller, please. Are you still there, sir?
I have a question for Mr. Mondelli,
Okay,
please. Mr.
Yes,
Mondelli,
Mr.
you're
Napolitano.
27, so you're not within 200 feet of this site, is that correct?
Oh, absolutely not, but I travel that road all the time to come to my home, so I am about a block or so away.
Right.
Your parking lot, your extra parking lot is 193, so I'm about a block and a half away from your site.
Right.
But I am on the same street.
Understood. And good evening, by the way, nice to hear your voice again.
Nice to hear you too, Mr. Condon. I'll go back for the other testimony. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
what is your name, sir?
I'm Muhammad.
Spell your first name, please.
A as in apple, M as in Mike, E as in echo, E as in echo, N as in November. Last name Muhammad.
Okay, your address, please, for the record?
I'm at 126 Knickerbocker Avenue. I'm actually directly, on the same block in between the same cross streets as the, site that's mentioned.
Thank you. Mr. LaRocca, may you proceed? You may proceed, sir, with your questions to the architect.
Okay, thank you. Well, I don't have that many questions because I was actually fortunate enough to meet with the developer's agent, and they were very transparent with the project, and let us know how many all of the questions that the gentleman before me mentioned and asked about the parking and things like that, which I appreciate him asking those questions. However, I've been in the area all my life, over 30 years, and I know that 27 or 29 Knickerbocker Avenue is a little across the track, so he's a lot more than one block away. He's more like a quarter mile away, closer to Lakeview Avenue, so you would have to cross the tracks. But parking is not really an issue. I don't see
What
an
is your
issue
question, sir? Do you have a question for the architect?
Not really.
Okay, so let's leave your comments to the end of this meeting. There will be.
How many apartments are there exactly?
32.
32 apartments, and there's 33, as I heard, tandem parking spots.
No, they're not all system now.
We just went through this testimony. Mr. LaRocca, how would you like to proceed? Can we go on to the next caller?
Sir, do you have any other questions, sir?
I'll take my comments for later.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Is there another caller?
I'm walking to the back. I'll be right back. 2 seconds. There are no callers at this time. Councilman Dulles was trying to log in. If he does, we will put him on. Thank you.
Yeah, hi.
Oh, you are there, sir.
Yes, I am.
Are you here as an interested party or a councilman?
I as an interested party.
These are questions only to the architect.
That's correct. I'll be following you through my WebEx. Actually, it was YouTube, sorry. Architect, how are you? My question is, how many parking off-site you being supplying in this project as we speak?
Okay, as per our testimony, there will be 14 off-site parking spaces directly adjoining adjacent to the property site.
So, extra parking to the project is how much? How many?
Total 47.
47, total 47. And you, this is not the first time you come with this application and make adjustment of parking?
These plans have been revised since the original filing, but this is our first hearing of this project in its present form.
Correct. And how many parkings are remaining? How many more parking is needed?
86.
86. Did you do a traffic study regarding, the architect did a traffic study regarding this project?
The architect did not, we have a traffic study witness being called shortly.
No problem. I have other comments, but I'm gonna do it at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have no further callers at this time.
Thank you. May we proceed then, Mr. Chairman, with our next witness?
I have a quick question for the, if that's all right. I just wanted to ask, if the, architect believes in his expertise.
Who's speaking?
The parking.
Who's speaking?
Sir, you can't just jump in. What is your name?
Oh, I'm sorry, I just spoke before, Mohammed. Oh, never mind. I'm sorry.
That's fine. No, we got your name. Now, what's the question?
It's okay, I'm sorry, I'll say it for later.
Can I just have the last two digits of your phone, sir?
My phone number?
The last two digits, 83. Okay, you cannot speak out of turn unless you ask permission through the chair. Just don't jump in the meeting. Make your question as quickly as possible. Do not interrupt unless I call you, okay? I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Sorry very much.
May we proceed, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chairman, are you there, sir? Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Where's the chairman? I don't...
We can hear you, Maggie.
We don't hear the chairman. We gotta make sure the chairman's on.
Give me a
Just
second.
give her a moment.
Badges, I don't know.
May we call our next witness, Mr. Chairman?
Al, we're trying to be sure that the chairman's still connected. Just give us a moment.
But my issue is that I have people calling in, Mr. LaRocca. Apparently, I think the objectors' attorneys may have given this number out, and the people that are calling in should not be on this line. They should be on the public line. This is how I got this other gentleman on. I have no clue whose number is which. But if you bear with me for 30 seconds, I will get this corrected. Thank you.
Hold on a minute. There's objectors' attorneys here?
I'm not sure, but some of these numbers, how they got on here, I don't know.
I'm not aware of it.
Maybe from the second case trickling into this case, because I can't make heads or tails how they got on.
All right, just check. We'll take a minute, but we gotta get the chairman back in. Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Chairman Daxton, if you can hear me, I need you to unmute yourself. Chairman Jackson? Are you there, sir?
You see his number? I don't see his number on the side.
His number is 92, but he's muted. I did not mute him.
Okay, so he's there, okay.
I'm gonna call him on the other line. I'm trying to reach him to call back in, so it's gonna take a little bit. I'm trying to get him to call back in. Thank you for waiting and your patience.
No problem, no problem.
Chairman Dash, are you
Hello?
there, sir? Okay, thank you.
Hello?
I can hear you, Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear
Okay.
you all the while. I don't know what happened with the phone.
Neither do I, but you're back and that's great, Mr. Arada.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, can the applicant call the next witness?
Yes.
We're ready, thank you. Call Mr. John Curak of Stonefield Engineering.
Good evening.
Please raise your right hand. Please raise your right hand.
Good evening.
Do you swear affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Say your full name for the record.
Sure. John Korak, last name spelled Corak. Stonefield Engineering and Design, 92 Park Avenue.
Okay, for the record, John, good evening. Can you tell us your professional background? I know you've appeared before this board before. Just give us a brief summary, if you would.
Certainly, licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the College of New Jersey, expert in the field of traffic and transportation engineering, have prepared over 100 traffic studies for land development applications. I've been accepted as a traffic expert before approximately 35 boards in the state of New Jersey, including this board on several occasions prior.
Thank you.
We accept your credentials.
Alrighty. John, you had an opportunity to review this site, obviously in preparation for your testimony, is that correct?
I did, yes.
And obviously you've had the benefit of the full site plan, as well as all related documents to this file, is that correct?
That's correct.
And based upon your analysis, could you give us the benefit of your report vis-a-vis the traffic issue on this site?
Certainly. Now, our office prepared an assessment of the proposed development from a traffic and parking perspective. So the subject property itself is located on the Paterson side of Crooks Avenue, with all vehicle access to the rear on Knickerbocker Avenue. Knickerbocker is a one-way roadway from east to west, so traveling the westbound direction, running parallel with Crooks Avenue, which is a two-way roadway, Passaic County roadway, and is home to a number of new developments that are really breathing new life into the corridor and creating really a multimodal, walkable area along Crooks Avenue. This proposed development puts retail right on the front of Crooks Avenue and fits into that character of multimodal and walkable from that traffic and parking perspective. There's no vehicular access to the site from Crooks Avenue. We're really keeping the pedestrian network, the commercial elements separate from the vehicle movements back on Knickerbocker, and keeping those walkable pedestrian elements up in the front on Crooks Avenue. The site itself is situated well to walking destinations that you might go to daily, whether it's Carrabba's Market or the CVS across the street, but most importantly to the other retail on Crooks Avenue and on Main Street that are in a short walking distance to the site. Also within the vicinity of the site that we observed during our analysis of the site, there's several NJ Transit bus routes in the vicinity, including stops at Crooks and Main and then at Crooks and Getty. The most important of those being the 190 bus, which takes you to the Port Authority in New York City. And that bus has excellent headways I've testified to on numerous occasions before this board and before the planning board. Moving back into the site design, the proposed development plan, we have 32 residential apartment units, and on the main parcel, 33 parking spaces, of which there are 8 spaces that are tandem spaces, which would be assigned to 4 units. So each set of tandem would be assigned to a single unit. Also proposing that auxiliary parking lot on Knickerbocker Avenue, a short walk away, about 1/10 of a mile, which as designed shows 14 spaces. However, Mr. Paparazzi had a comment to reduce that parking demand down to 13 spaces because of the proximity between one of the parallel spaces and the driveway. I would argue that given the low turnover of those spaces, that there wouldn't be any substantial safety issue. But that space is pretty close to that driveway maneuver, so we would be okay with giving up that one space and going down to 13 spaces at that auxiliary lot. So in total, with the 33 on-site and the 13 off-site, there's 46 parking spaces for the 32-unit development, which is just shy of about 1.5 spaces per unit. Looking at traffic impacts of the development, the Institute of Transportation Engineers and the NJDOT both use a threshold of 100 vehicle trips in an hour for determining whether or not a development is likely to have a potential traffic impact. Given that there's only 46 parking spaces on site and that these types of uses, these residential uses, tend to spread out the commuting traffic over multiple hours instead of being concentrated to a single hour, this development is going to be well under that 100 trip threshold and would not have a significant traffic impact to the surrounding roadway network. The turning movements in and out from the two driveways, the one at the main site and the one at the auxiliary lot, are not going to really cause any sort of significant adverse impact to that traffic on Knickerbocker Avenue. For For the parking requirement, the city's ordinance follows the residential site improvement standards, which require 2 spaces per unit for this type of development. However, as has been testified by myself on several projects before, it's important to note that the RSIS does have language built in that allows for a reduced parking standard based on local characteristics of the site and the neighborhood. Some of those characteristics include an urban versus suburban context, as well as the availability of mass transit in the surrounding area. And I think that the idea of urban versus suburban characteristics is very meaningful here for this particular site. In a suburban location, all trips to and from the development are basically by a single occupant passenger vehicle. There's no transit use, there's no walking to the site. But here we're in a more urbanized location, a walkable area. It's easy to run a number of errands in the site vicinity and even be employed within walking distance to the site. There's convenient and frequent transit in the area with the numerous NJ Transit bus routes, including the 190 bus. And all of these components help achieve a lesser parking demand than, say, 2 vehicles per unit. It won't be a 0 parking demand by any means, but definitely less than 2 vehicles per unit. Likely a mix of 1 vehicle per unit and a few units that would have that second vehicle can make use of those tandem parking spaces on site. To support this, not just going off of what you might just call a hunch, but to support this, we have reviewed data from the Institute of Transportation Engineers. Again, they're the industry standard in terms of forecasted parking demand for these types of developments. They have a large data set of similar type developments. And for these residential buildings in multi-use urban areas, mixed-use context, the parking demand is lesser than those of a suburban site. ITE would forecast that demand just under 1 space per unit. Here we've got almost 1.5 spaces per unit, so again, adequate parking supply provided for this development for its tenants based on the ITE data and the surrounding characteristics. For the retail component of the site, that auxiliary lot can support the employee demand, the employee load of the retail component. There's a nice shared parking element where the retail operations are generally active during the day, when the residential users are typically out or typically at work. As such, we would utilize that lot for that commercial support. With respect to customers for this site, it really is a neighborhood use. It's really meant to capture from the surrounding neighborhood the walkable characteristics of Crooks Avenue. And as you see more developments coming online in Crooks Avenue that are similar to this development, including the one Nasser testified to in the previous in his testimony. You're going to see an influx of a more walkable Crooks Avenue, this business corridor being more vibrant, more boots on the ground, and the need for parking in that case goes down as the businesses are really able to support themselves with the surrounding neighborhood. The parking requirement in this area is 1 space per 200 square feet or 5 per 1,000, which is really more typical of a suburban parking requirement. Whereas here, the surrounding street network, the Crook Avenue parking out in front, which is essentially what it's there for, it's on-street parking in a business zone, would be able to support that customer demand of the subject site. And ultimately integrate itself, have the site be able to integrate itself in the corridor, as a walkable area, walkable, forward-facing retail use. So, in conclusion of my testimony, the proposed parking supply is sufficient to accommodate the operations, both the residential and retail aspects of this development. Development would not have a significant traffic impact on the surrounding roadway network. And really, this development would be a multimodal asset to the community, to the Crooks Ave corridor, being designed to be forward-facing, retail-facing that street frontage, encouraging pedestrian walkability in the neighborhood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keurig. He's available, of course, for any questions, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you, Chairman.
Gary?
Yes, sir. I'm here. You hear me?
Yes.
Yes. All right. Good evening, Mr. Clark. Just a few things real quick. One of your testimony was that you're providing 1.5 spaces per unit, which your own testimony contradicted. Because, first of all, you have 4 tandem spaces or 8 tandem spaces, so they can't be 1 per unit. And you also testified that the off-site parking would be used for the businesses, as so did Nassor's testimony. So you can't use them both, and you know that. So the 1.5 per unit is incorrect. It's still less than 1 per unit. Because on site you have with the tandem 29. Okay, so it's less than 1 per unit. And again, your testimony and Nassor's testimony both alluded to the fact that off-site parking would be utilized for the businesses that need 20 or 30 parking spaces. So in that instance, I think we would go down to a bit less than 1. Okay.
We had John to clarify testimony now, Gary, just to know.
Yeah, sure. Mr. Korak, do you agree with that? When you include the tandem parking and the retail parking, it's actually less than 1 per unit.
So I don't agree with all of the points that you made there. On the main parcel itself, you're correct that if you were to assign every parking space on the main parcel, you could assign them out to 29 units. That part is correct. The other part captured in my testimony for that auxiliary lot is the shared parking effect that can be considered here, and even the RSIS says that a shared parking configuration shall be considered for mixed-use developments. So that auxiliary parking lot during those peak overnight periods of the residential, when the retail is not in use, that can accommodate additional vehicles not from the residential, not from the main lot. And during the daytime, that switch can happen as the residents generally leave, go to work, run errands, whatever it might be. So there's a great synergy between the two. So while what you're saying, I guess, is that the parking demand, you're forecasting that is less than 1 per unit. We really do have closer to that 1.5 number. It might not be, that 1.5 at all times during the day, but during that peak period of overnight when it really counts the residential, we have that full parking supply available.
Okay. Gary, that's why I mentioned, Gary, that it was primarily for the business purposes during the day, but that's why I wanted John's testimony to clarify that.
Okay, and I agree with that, but on site you can only utilize 29 units, and the other site is, let's not forget, it is 650 feet away. Okay, it's not next door or across the street, so if you want to consider a block in Paterson, that's maybe 3 or 4 blocks, which is, especially in climate weather, it's not a hop, skip, and a jump. But that being said, John, you also mentioned some mass transit. Now, what was the mass transit, the line that you mentioned again? Just so I can note that.
Sure. The main one is the 190 energy transit bus.
All right, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for Mr. Kerr. And if I can answer any questions for the commissioners, I would be happy to.
Hey, Gary, how many, and I'm a little confused now, how many spots are they short with the residential and with the commercial, and how many are they providing?
They are providing 46 spaces, and they need 86. I told.
And how many are for the residential and how many are for the commercial needs?
The residential needs 64. 2 per unit.
How many is the commercial needs?
The other 20. The 22, I'm sorry.
This is Jonathan Hodges.
where are the customers going to park?
Generally, this type of development on Crooks Avenue, business corridor, customer parking or customer interaction with the site is most likely to come from the surrounding community. But given that Crooks Avenue is basically the roadway fronting a business zone, any vehicle traffic that's coming to the site is going to park on Crooks Avenue.
And John, I think that's based upon your own observation, which I think anyone who's a Patersonian or travels through Cooks Avenue regularly would note that that's the common usage of the business parking on site, on street, I'm sorry.
Correct. That's the common use for parking on Crooks Avenue is for those retail uses that are currently there.
Hey Gary, what retail uses are they proposing there, or they could be there, or that they could be using?
Mr. Maracanda is going to have someone testify to that because I had suggested, Commissioner Levine, that like laundromats, salons, restaurants would double almost the parking requirement because they are done by seat, machine, and so forth, and not square footage as the retail basic is, which we are going with now. So Mr. Maracanda will bring up somebody later to testify to the 5 businesses.
But if they change businesses and say they do put a restaurant, that'll change the whole parking requirement from what we're proposing now. So it would have to fit whatever we're proposing right now, for using it as a parking requirement.
Well, that's correct. So whatever Mr. Maracanda's witness will testify to, it would have to be in the resolution. So at least we have some protection for the city if it is needed.
No, but what you're counting right now, whatever 20 spots for the commercial has to fit certain businesses. What businesses does that fit right now?
Just retail. Just retail, Commissioner. In other words, not a Dunkin' Donuts, not a hair salon, not a laundromat, not a restaurant. Anything that involves seats or machines would alter the parking requirement.
So that's what we're considering then. If you're going off of the 80 spots, that's the only things we're considering, right? Correct? I mean, we can't vote on anything else because that's what you're going off of the parking variance off of.
No, I'm not going off of the restaurant, and I'm going off of just retail, which is 1 for every 200 or 250. I don't have it from me right now.
Gary, what he's saying is that if the restaurant's gonna make it more, and you're giving a number based on the retail, the board needs to know that that's for that. And Commissioner Levine, if I understand you correctly, what you're suggesting is that you would want some sort of condition in the resolution that this is what you're voting for? And this is what would be approved?
We're voting on something that for 20 spots. So they can't go put a hair salon in there or something that would require more than 20 spots. I mean, that's not fair right now, because that's what we're going off of the parking off of. So right now, the only thing that they should be proposing is retail, unless they want to change it and say, listen, we want a parking variance for 40 spots, considering when they put a restaurant or something in there. That's what I'm saying right now.
I understood.
Fully understand that. I'm going to place the applicant on the record. I explained to him what are the permitted business uses in the B2 Community Business District. At this point, he's already indicated to me absolutely no liquor store. I will call him whenever the board deems it appropriate with regard to his expectations or desires with regard to.
Well, Alan, I don't think that's Alan. Alan, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying no liquor stores. I'm saying only what retail. That's it. There's no exclusions. It's only what requires 1 parking spot per square footage or however Gary's working it out. I'm not asking to exclude anything. I'm asking.
No.
So you don't have to say he already agreed to that. We're not even considering that right now because that's what Gary put in. Then that's why I asked Gary what retail fits into the parking arrangement that he's offering. And your client is proposing to us right now.
Correct. I'm going to put him on the record, but as I said, we understand that the laundromats and the hair salons and the sit-down restaurants do increase the parking variance. So that's why I want to make sure we place on the record the applicant's full understanding and full expression.
No, I think if you think I'm wrong, you tell me. And Gary, if you think I'm wrong, you can tell me. I think maybe we should kind of go out of order just for a moment, put them under oath to ask them those questions, right? Because in other words, why would they spend the whole meeting talking about parking based on retail numbers if he's gonna say, no, absolutely, I don't wanna shut down the potential of having a restaurant or a hair salon or a laundromat. Let's clear that up so we can talk about the proper numbers.
100% agree with you.
Gary, is there anything else besides those, there has to be a lot more things besides those three things that will increase the parking, is what, Gary, correct?
No, only housing require, only,
Yeah, bars, restaurants, coffee shops, laundromats, salons. Anything that involves seating or machines, changes the requirement. It's one per every 200 square feet as retail now. So.
What about bodegas and stuff like that, or ice cream shops or stuff, or any of those things?
Ice cream shops, if they have inside seating, it would change it. Not if you just go in there and buy an ice cream cone and leave, you know? If they have seating, it will change it. Any seating, even in the bodega, if they have seating for breakfast, it will change the analysis.
What about like a bank? Something like that, like a bank?
I think it's too small, the square footage is too small for a bank, but, I'll double check that real quick.
Bank, no Dunkin' Donuts, none of that stuff.
No, Dunkin' Donuts has seating, right, exactly right. If
Those
you
are-
okay.
we'll put the act on the record, right, whenever you're ready.
All right, but hold on, Mr. Americano. Jeff, a bank is one space per 200 square feet. Retail is one space per 200 square feet. So a bank would go in there, if it could fit, I don't think it could fit, but a bank would be the same analysis. Most of it is, from seating, like a bar, or a restaurant, a salon, or a laundromat, or those kind of things, or Dunkin' Donuts.
Alright, thanks, Jack.
Okay.
I'll call the act this time, Mr. Rucker, then?
Mr. Maricondo,
Yes, sir.
we need to, have the public, then your, next witness can come on.
Okay.
Yeah, but Chairman, we may not be done with the witness he has now. Is that correct, Mr. Maricondo?
I think we're done with Mr. Kurak, unless anyone else has questions of him.
Okay, so then let's get through that then, okay. Do any other commissioners have questions?
Commissioner has a question?
Somebody please mute their mic and hear background noise. Chairman, can I open it to the public?
Yes, you can.
Yes. Members of the public, if you have any questions on the testimony you just heard from this witness, this is not the time to give statements or comments, just if you have questions of this witness as to the testimony you just heard. Please call 973-321-1579, and when prompted to, please enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Once again, the number is 973-321-1579, meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Thank you. Just give it a few moments.
Hello? Hello? Yes. This is Lord Velez. Somebody knocked me out of the meeting, and I want to make a comment on the application. You have to wait a second. You have to wait. Hold on a second. No problem.
We have no callers at this time.
Thank you.
So I'll call the next witness, Mr. Chairman?
But no, you have Mr. Velez there. Doesn't he a caller?
I completely.
I think Mr. Velez wants to give a comment. Mr. Velez, did you want to ask a question or did you want to give a statement?
Are we still with the traffic engineering?
Yes.
Yes, that's okay. I'm satisfied with the statement of the traffic engineering, and I give credit what you're saying. Thank you.
Well, I have a question for him. Where will visitors park? To those three?
Answer it again.
No, my first question was for customers. But where will visitors park? Will they be parked on Crooks Avenue, or will they be parking? Where will they be parking? You have 33 apartment units there. Where will they be parking?
32 apartment units. Generally, the visitor rate is pretty low for these types of uses, but they would be using predominantly the on-street network for parking needs. If the units were rented up and there was I would say a parking surplus where we know on a daily basis that there are not as many vehicles as there are parking spaces. At that time, we could reconsider having visitor parking on site or on the auxiliary lot. But in the interim, we're looking at on-street parking for the occasional visitor coming to the apartments.
And John, I think you indicated that the need for business employee parking would of course lessen in the evening, so that might make the off-site parking available for either residents or visitors to the residence. I'm sorry, I misunderstood Mr. Hyde's question first.
Right. Well, so on Saturdays and Sundays, when they'll probably both be open, you may have a problem with visitors.
Well, you indicated that it might not be completely adequate to meet every conceivable need of a visitor, but I dare say that's probably true of every site in the city of Paterson, I would say.
Increasingly so because the buildings are being built without parking.
Well, not this one. This building has very substantial parking.
Commissioner Hodges, Gary Paparosi, the calculation for parking does include visitors. So the 40 spaces that were short, it includes visitors, includes everybody's. RSIS says you need 2 spaces per unit. That includes residents and visitors. So it's not an additional number. So that number is the number for visitors, supposedly customers, and residents. I think that Mr. Toronto will agree with that, I think.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Marag Mohammed, are you there, sir?
Yes, I'm here.
Do you have any questions of Mr. Korak?
No, that's not this time.
Thank you, okay. You may proceed, Mr. Rocca.
No other callers?
No other callers, sir. Unless Mr. Mondelli has a question. Mr.
We're ready to
Mondelli,
proceed.
there? Okay, he is no longer connected. Okay, we're done, Mr. Chairman Jackson.
Mr. Mayor, your next witness, please.
We'll call the applicant, Dr. Fadi.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is
Yes.
the whole truth and nothing but the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Is this a background?
Oh.
What's the question?
I'm sorry?
We're getting an echo.
Oh, wow. No.
Speak again, Mr. Murakami.
Is better.
I need Mr. Murakami.
Is better now?
I think we're okay now. Yes, I think we're okay now.
Thank you.
Mr. Maracana, before you start, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you have any other witnesses after the applicant?
Yes, the planner, Mr. McDonough.
The planner. You know, Chairman, can we take a 2-minute break? Can you call me, my cell phone, Chairman?
Yep. We're gonna take a 2-minute break.
Please mute your mics, please. Thank you. Mr. Paparazzi, I have to go in the other room for a moment. I'll be right back. Gary?
Okay, Maggie. If you need me, I have my phone with me as well.
Karen, you there?
Oh, yeah.
Howard?
I'm back.
All right, Maggie.
Yes, sir.
All right, swift for the chairman.
Maggie,
Yes, sir.
you're ready? We can begin.
I'm ready, sir.
Mr. LaRocca.
Mr. Macaconda, we're gonna stop your mouth for 2 minutes. I just want to call the second matter. Would you say it's fair to say that based on the fact that you have 2 more witnesses, we're gonna go at least another half hour at the bare minimum?
Yes.
All right, and most likely more, right?
Oh.
All right. Is the attorney for the second matter present?
Yes, this is Dean Stamos.
How are you, Styles?
I'm doing well, how are you?
Good. You know, and I, unfortunately, based on the size of this application, dealing with the technology and bringing in the callers, the meeting is just, it's taking the time it's taking. I don't anticipate that we'd even be able to start your application before 10 o'clock to be candid. And obviously your application is substantial as well. Having said that, and I know you hear what experts, and I believe there's an objector's attorney here too, is that correct?
Yes.
That's correct. Who is that?
Yes.
Good evening,
Mr. Chairman. Nicholas Seekers. We're here. We have 3 experts and about 6 to 7 witnesses, people in the neighborhood. So, and that's why it would be benefit from a special meeting, just this application alone. I don't for the board's sake.
I mean, I don't disagree with the attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Mr.
And this was noticed in the special meeting, yes, sir.
Is he on it?
Okay, so are we, I guess well, depending on the board's pleasure, we'll certainly, do what we have to do.
I hate doing it, I just don't see the alternative. And we certainly, and without even knowing what was involved with the objection, that we certainly wouldn't want to rush you anyway in terms of your application. I do think it needs to be on a meeting by itself, especially in light of the amount of objective notices and the fact that we're virtual. Having said that, when is the earliest date we can bring them back, Madam Secretary?
December 3rd, that would be a Thursday, that's the earliest possible. If not, then it would be on the 7th, December 7th.
Yeah.
Definitely nothing left in November.
So Thursday, the 3rd of December, or Monday, the 7th of December. Mr. Stamos?
I would have to check my calendar, Mr. Chairman and Madam Secretary, just to make sure,
Yes, but I would like to give him a date so he does not have to read it. It's up to you.
If I may, it's, obviously it's our application. If we, I certainly would have liked it sooner, but, yeah, the earliest thing, I guess we'd have to take.
All right, so before we give it an official date, December 3rd would work for you, counsel?
It would for me. Obviously, my witnesses are here. I would hope that they're also available to confirm, but my planner, actually, Mr. Paterson, on for this case as well. And
unfortunately, I need 10 days before I can publish, and I would have to publish on the 18th for the 3rd. This is the reason why. So that's the earliest we can do it, within the 10-day time requirement.
But if it's already announced, if it's announced this one, you still would have to publish?
Yes.
It's first special meeting requires that under the MAQL.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It's a special, obviously.
Chief, does December 3rd work for you?
Well, thank you, sir. My witnesses have told me December 3rd presents an issue. I think that's Monday the 7th. My plan is available, my experts may be available as well. But I'll have to coordinate that and check with each one of them. I'll make myself available either day. But
why don't we do this, right? Because I'm assuming you have your witnesses are here now, right? Same with you, Mr. Stamos?
Yes, but I have to wait on the 7th, so,
Not until the 7th.
correct.
Unfortunately, with the holiday, my hands are tied.
Are those the only 2 days, the 7th and the 3rd? Is it possible to do a Tuesday? Can we get out on a Tuesday?
The council meets on a Tuesday. There are other meetings like ABC, Historic Preservation, everyone has their days, so those are the only 2 days that I have. I could maybe change something around and do the 14th. But like I said, I can't say for sure.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, two of my experts are unavailable on the 3rd. They have other commitments, other planning board meetings. Three of them, actually. All my experts are unavailable on the 3rd.
They're all available on this, and they're all available on the 7th?
I believe two of them are available, but I think we can work it that way, the 7th. But Mr. Stamos has a conflict.
And what about the 14th, if it was the 14th? Can you check with them?
Sure.
Mr. Stamos, does the 14th work for you?
Let's see. What day of the week is that from that?
Monday.
I'm sorry?
A Monday.
Monday. Yeah, that would work for me, but,
I have cases on, but because of the importance of this case, I'm willing to speak to the applicant.
Okay, the 14th works.
14th works, Mr. Paparazzi? Gary?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. I know that everything was screwed up because of the lady pushed everything up, and now it got canceled. You have Thanksgiving and December. I think it's okay, but I think it's okay.
Chairman Thaxton?
It's fine with me.
We gotta wait and see if it works for Mr. Stamos, so he's checking with his experts.
So that works. The 14th will work.
Alright, so, Madam Secretary, let's call this matter, so we can put the date, we're gonna give it the 14th, correct, council?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's call it, so we give it the date now, so he doesn't have to re-notify, and then we'll go from there.
The meeting, do I have to call in the agenda? We're not open the case or just give it a date?
Call me for a second, please.
Thank you. Okay, and Melinda, are you there?
I am.
Okay, Mr. Araka, we can open up this second case and then we'll give it a date, sir?
Yeah, please call it.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Are you waiting for me, Maggie?
They're going to do the flag salute again. We'll open it up.
Let's make the record clear, we're taking a break for the first matter, and we're proceeding to the second matter. I think we could open it, just officially open it, and give it a new date, and then close it, so we have the act.
Okay.
I'll just record it for the quorum.
Mr. Chairman, I'm so sorry to bother you. If I may be heard, the 14th is the beginning of Hanukkah, and two of my clients aren't available. My experts are available. I don't think it's gonna be concluded in one meeting. If it's not concluded in one meeting, we need additional testimony. Is it possible to go to another meeting or carry it before the board makes a decision? Because that happens all the time with people, that there's some available, some are not.
Chairman Jackson?
Yeah, that's fine. Whatever we work out is fine.
The only problem with that, council, is, if we know your witnesses are gonna be unavailable, I mean, based on the numbers of witnesses, I think you're right, we're probably not gonna finish anyway in one meeting. But in the event that it could be finished in one meeting, if we know in advance, to make the applicant have to pay for a second special meeting, it's a little cost prohibitive if we know that in advance.
I understand. That's right.
Again, with 6 witnesses on your end and however many witnesses on the other end, I don't know that we'll be able to finish in one meeting anyway. So it may be a non-issue, it might have to get carried regardless.
Mr. Arado, I need to talk to you before we proceed. Can you, I'll call you? One off the record.
What's that? Call. Pause. Pause. Oh, you said we told you? Okay. That's the right numbers. Yeah.
We may have to adjourn this without a date and then figure it out after tonight. And I hate to do that to you, Mr. Stamos, because then,
Well, 2 questions I have actually. One is, certainly we'd rather have it to a date certain. Secondly, again, we paid for the special meeting tonight, am I getting the understanding that I would be sought for my client to pay for this next meeting again?
no, which is one of the reasons why I think we're gonna carry it without even opening the meeting, and then the field carry to that meeting. My concern was, if it doesn't complete that night, and they need a second meeting, well, then that second meeting, you have to pay.
Well,
that wouldn't be as a result of the board. If we start a meeting, but for purposes of tonight, this is not the applicant's issue, so when it gets rescheduled, the fee will just carry to that rescheduled date.
Okay. Again, we're talking, he's not talking experts, he's talking someone who wants to add comment, so, we don't want this to go out further into later than that. I wanted the 3rd. They have witnesses.
I think it's better that we talk tomorrow.
Okay.
With Mr. Sheik and yourself and the board secretary, just figure out a date that works for everybody, and maybe there's a way to get you in even earlier.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah,
maybe we can do it after Thanksgiving, but before Hanukkah, and figure it out. Let's do this tomorrow. So for purposes of tonight, we'll carry it without a date. Again, the one cost that you will incur, unfortunately, is under notice. As a result, if I was able to get you a date tonight, then you wouldn't have to send out the letters to the public, but you're all going to have to do that. And resubmit to the board.
Okay.
All right, so for members of the public,
It's an 8 o'clock meeting. Madam Secretary, could you please put the address on the record?
141-147 Crooks Avenue LLC, 141-147 Crooks Avenue.
No, that's the second
I'm
meeting.
sorry, that's the first, I apologize, you were right. A little crazy today, but thank you for your patience. Westfall Waste Services, 20-34 Shady Street, Block 1801, Lot 1. This is an application to park waste management vehicles and waste management containers. There is an existing office space on the site. The applicant has not provided the number of spaces that are available. This is for use both in site plan and I-1 zone. This matter will be carried to a future date to be determined. Anyone who, from the public, wants to connect with me at any time, you have my number in the office is 973-321-1343. That's Margarita Vega, Maggie Vega, 973-321-1343 at the Division of Planning and Zoning for the City of Paterson. Thank you very much and have a nice evening.
And members of the public, you will receive new notice with regard to this application.
And thank you so much, council, and also chairman, for hearing us and this application and adjourning it. I'll make myself available, and I will also verify, hopefully before tomorrow, or sometime in the afternoon tomorrow, what my availability is and other witnesses. This will be excellent. Right way to do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, council. I apologize for the inconvenience, gentlemen.
You're set. No problem. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Maricali,
We're ready to proceed.
back on the record with the first application in Crooks Avenue.
Thank you. I'm not sure what I believe, is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you well.
Court stenographer, if you were sworn under oath.
I can barely hear you, Mr. Maricami. You sound very far away.
Just a moment.
Was this witness sworn in? Was the applicant sworn in?
No. Yes, he was sworn in, but it's.
Can I be sworn in again?
You swear affirm testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Say your full name for the record.
Fadi El-Had.
Spell the last name, please.
EL-ATAT.
A-T-I-T?
Right.
Thanks, Doctor. Doctor, would you state your position with 140 and 147 Crook Avenue LLC?
The owner?
You're the principal owner?
Residence. Yeah.
Okay, and you've heard all the testimony this evening on your behalf up to this point?
Yes.
Okay, and you've also heard of the discussion that relates to the nature of the retail uses. Are you prepared to state for the record this evening that you will be limiting your proposed uses to strictly retail service and no use that requires seating inside premises or a laundromat or a salon?
Yes, but can I talk just a couple of words about that, or for the sake of time, if you want to move on, I have no problem.
Well, you're going to have the opportunity to testify at the end after our planner. This is limited to that one narrow issue, okay?
Yeah, for the sake, if this is what makes the board comfortable with that, and this is their opinion, like Commissioner Levine and Gary said, then I agree with that. That's fine. I will talk later, yes.
Yeah. Right, anything else is going to be part of your regular testimony. We just have to do that to make sure that the parking variance that the planner has determined and your professionals are going to be speaking to is calculated correctly based on the retail use, okay?
Sure.
All right, so I think, Mr. Paparazzi, Mr. LaRocca, is that satisfactory at this point?
That is for me, Mr. Mariconda. And then after the doctor testifies, that'll be put on the record as part of the resolution, and we'll just detail out those several approved B2 businesses that would not be, okay. All right.
They're excluded from this test, right?
Right, okay, I'm fine with that, Mr. Maricon and Mr. LaRocca.
Thank you. Unless you wish to proceed with him now, or I can recall him after the plenary. Does the board have a preference?
Well, let me ask a question. How would you prefer to present your case?
Well, he has a very limited amount of testimony, so I could finish up with the doctor and then move on to the planner. He's not going to be there.
Let's do that. That doesn't throw a monkey wrench into your plan.
No, I think that's going to be fine. If I need to recall him after the plenary, I will, but I doubt it. Dr. Vadi, I alluded earlier to the fact that you've heard all the testimony and you're in agreement with all the testimony on behalf of your proposal. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, and you will be willing to be bound by that testimony and the conditions that we discussed. I know you've discussed this matter at length. Just give us a brief thumbnail sketch of your feelings about the project and why you feel strongly about it.
Well, this project, I started preparing for it for maybe 5 years ago. This was the first project that I started planning in the area in 2015. And in the beginning, I got the lot on Crooks Ave, the 141-147 Crooks Ave. And initially I wanted to do a medical place over there. And then, over time, I started looking into the area and, it was a restaurant initially that had only 6 parking spots. It was a huge restaurant and supermarket. And it was 6 parking spots and somebody got killed over there and these things. So basically, the whole area over there is like kind of the face of Paterson, and it doesn't look that great. So I love that area, and I started looking into it, and I thought I could, this will come up at some point in time. I thought that this is great, and you have nice places over there, and nice people over there, and I thought let's start working on it. So I started getting the lots in the back, and it was a lot of money and a lot of waiting and a lot of time and a lot of effort for me to be able to get them. I was getting them one after another, these lots, and it took really, really humongous effort and money for me to get them and to hold for 5 years without making money, the majority of these lots. So bottom line, what I wanted to do in this one, I want to do a nice project over there where I feel it will improve the whole area, and at the same time it will be nice for all the tenants. We're gonna build something nice, something new, and I think it will bring a more life to that area over there, and it's organized. And we're trying to go by whatever the board recommends. Honestly, I've appeared on this board multiple times before, a couple of times before. And we showed that we really keep our word, and even after other sites got approved, I continued to acquire lots and to do better things. So yes, sorry.
No,
Okay, so bottom line, honestly, it hurts me to see some of the projects in the area, like a whole school has only 8 parking spots or 9 parking spots that was just built now within this year. It hurts me to see 54 units, down the road also that has only 40 parking spots. It hurts me to see other projects, one second, Alan. It hurts me to see other projects that have only 10 to 15 parking spots. But you know what? I don't look at other people. I want to look at myself. And the same way I see professional people in this board who are willing, who want to make Paterson better. I want to go with them, whatever they recommend, and I will work with them to the end. And I will continue to try to do my best in the area. All I'm asking is please for them to help us, for us to try to just, I'm not saying to sympathize with us, but honestly, we really stretch it in this. I mean, this application, we started it 2 years ago, honestly. And I will try to do all the requirements that you want over there, the board. But honestly, I'm stretched to the end, and I did my best in this for me to arrive to this number of parking lots. And it doesn't. I agree. Sometimes it's not. It doesn't have. It's not like the perfect thing, but I don't think there is perfect thing in the area over there. So thank you very much for listening to me, and whatever you could help with, I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you very much. That would conclude the applicant's testimony, subject to any questions.
Gary, do you have any questions for the applicant?
Just some clarification, and I'm sure the doctor, will agree. Dr. Alatat, the businesses that will be excluded would be those that, was discussed earlier. Now, let's say you have an accountant or, a law firm go into one of the units, and after a year he leaves. It cannot become like a Five Guys burger place or a Dunkin' Donuts. You understand? Even if your initial leases or rentals are in performance and they leave, you're locked into that resolution as long as you own that property or anybody owns that property, that those retails would be limited to exclude just those businesses. Are you fine with that being in the resolution? You have to understand that because that's very important.
Well, if this is what you recommended, because you said as far as the parking spots, I mean, this is the most likely thing to be recommended. And I tell you, if we need to go back to that in front of the board in the future, we could do that. We could acquire more parking spots. I'm not going to go again, Gary. I mean, I see how professional you are, all of you in there, okay? I like you, and I will do my best, okay? That's it to the end. But, we acquire more parking, and then we come back to you in the future. If we don't acquire more, we don't come back to you. I'm not a hanky-panky guy, I'm a top dog in New Jersey. To the point. We have that much spots, we're asking you to help us with this one, and pass it. To the point.
Yeah, doctor, it's not that I was recommending it, it's only we can't calculate what the parking required without those plans. You see, like if you had a restaurant and it had 60 seats, well then we would have to, so it's not a recommendation, it's just that right now, we can't determine the number of spaces that will be short without having that in the resolution.
I agree.
And like you said, if you want to come back to the board, if there is no issue, if those parking spaces are being utilized, then obviously you're more than welcome to come back to the board and say, okay, listen, we have 10 spaces extra and I acquired more and go from there. Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I have no more questions for the applicant.
Any commissioner?
Open to the public.
I want to say something, ask a question. Hold on, Mr. Velez, hold on. We didn't open it up to the public yet.
I'll open it to the public while we wait to see if anybody calls, then we can have Mr. Velez ask a question. Does that work, Chairman?
It's fine.
Thank you. Members of the public, if you have questions of the applicant with regard to this testimony, again, now is not the time to give comments or statements, it's to ask questions with regard to the testimony you just heard. Please call 973-321-1579, and when prompted to, enter meeting ID 711-680-0071. Once again, call 973-321-1579, meeting ID 711-680-0071. Let's allow Mr. Velez to ask his question while we see if anybody calls. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I proceed? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, respectful board. I have a few questions for Dr. I cannot pronounce his name, the doctor, the owner of the property. Doctor, do you consider yourself a good neighbor?
Of course.
Thank you. How long you been having this property, you say, in ownership title?
2015.
And right now, you don't have no uses on the property, correct?
No.
Are you up to date with your taxes? You pay taxes on your property, correct?
Yes, sure.
And can you tell me roughly, How much is your yearly taxes on the property?
About 36,000. It was up till last year, 40,000 almost. Since 2015 till last year when I demolished it, then it became less. It became the value thing, but I don't know exactly how much. But the ones from the back, every one of them also, the buildings is there are two of them still buildings, and one of them we already demolished it. The buildings we just acquired them not too long ago, and every one of them maybe like 10, 12,000, something like that, around 10,000 or 12,000. So basically, in total, something like 50,000 every year.
Correct. Yeah, every year. And basically the property that I'm talking about, so you pay 50,000 every year, so it becomes like 5, 10, 15, 20, like more than $250,000 in 5 years, correct?
Almost.
Almost. And you have paid up to date your taxes, and you haven't used the place. No revenue is coming to the place, right?
Correct.
Correct. And which this is your dream, right? This is your dream, making this property.
Yes.
May I interject here a moment, Chairman Daxton and Mr. LaRocca? Also, Mr. Maricanda, the tax and sewer statements that I have in my possession in 2018, I did send a request for updated tax and sewers, and I have not received that. So just to make this very clear, Mr. Velez and Marco Rocca, these tax and sewer statements have not been paid up to date until I get proof.
Maggie, I provided proof by email. We talked about this, and I did provide you with full email tax and sewer certificate.
May I continue with my questions?
Hold on one moment, first.
Thank you.
Alan,
Yep.
we'll deal with that after, obviously, before any resolution, we'll clear that all up. I understand the issue.
Right, the board secretary and I had a discussion, it may be in her email and she didn't pull it, but I did
That's fine. That's fine. A condition of any resolution will be satisfactory proof of payment. If it's not
That's exactly what I was alluding to. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. I just want to put on the question on the floor for understanding the commissioners that, this is a taxpayer of the city of Paterson. For 5 years, he's been paying his taxes, and no income had been coming from his property. So that means he's a good neighbor. That's how why I started asking if he was a good neighbor for the city of Paterson. Thank you, Doctor, for putting it into a little bit of a residence in the city of Paterson. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate it.
Any other calls?
We have no calls at this time.
Excuse me, is the city manager from, is the city manager from Clifton still with us?
He is.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Nakanda, call your last statement.
Yes, our last witness is Mr. John McDonough, the planner. He's ready to be sworn.
Hi, everyone.
Please raise your hand. Testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
State your full name for the record.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is John McDonough. That's spelled MC, capital DONOUGH.
John, for the record, your professional background briefly, I know you testified before this board before on several occasions.
Sure. My education comes from Rutgers. I'm a licensed professional planner here in the state of New Jersey. That license is still current and in good standing. I am a member of the American Institute of Certified Planners, which is a national certification. And I am also a licensed landscape architect. I'm not testifying in that capacity tonight, but I am here as the project planner. And I have been here before.
Mr. Chairman?
We accept your credentials.
Thank you very much. So you had an opportunity to hear, I assume, all the earlier testimony, is that correct?
Yes.
Good. Okay, and obviously you're fully familiar with this site based upon your preparation for tonight's hearing?
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'll give you free rein to present your planning testimony in support of this application.
Sure, I think I can be relatively succinct in the presentation before the board. I think this is a pretty straightforward application as it's evolved with the interaction between our applicant here and the board. What I'd like to do, Mr. Chairman, council, with the board's okay, is just to share my screen here. I have 8 slides to show the board.
You can do that.
Can everybody see a screenshot here that is a tax parcel map? Any issues with that?
We can see it.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna walk you through the elements of the core planning aspects of this application here. First, we're going to start with a simple tax parcel map, again, just to help with orientation. We're dealing with 3 tax parcels that front on Crooks Avenue and front on Knickerbocker Avenue as well. You've got 10,000 square foot lot, 7,008, lot 3, and then you got the 7,500 combination of lots, 7,823 and 24. In aggregate, as you've heard through Mr. Paparazzi at the outset, 17,500 square feet. And then over on the other side of Getty Avenue, we have another 5,000 square feet on lot 7,006, block 7,006, lot 4. So in aggregate, actually looking at an effective half acre of land here, which is more than adequate to accommodate the capacity of what the applicant is proposing. You can see we are right on the edge of the border with Clifton to the south. And again, the key aspect here is that we do front on Crooks Avenue, which has certainly transformed itself and is predominantly, I'll say, non-residential in character. It's going to pull in a nice residential component to support those local businesses. Second frame shows the established neighborhood pattern. What's nice about this application is that it's keeping the development mass on the Crooks Avenue side, which is where we've got those non-residential uses. And it is keeping the lower mass of the parking lot to the rear where we've got residential development on Knickerbocker Avenue. And then, of course, additional parking supply that will help the applicant meet what I believe is a reasonable demand on the property. You can see in the next frame here where we've color-coded under the Mod 4 system. Red is everything that's non-residential, and everything in gold or yellow is residential. And the key point here is the applicant is proposing what is an effective blend of everything that's around it. I'll say a little bit of gold, residential, a little bit of red, non-residential. It's a perfect transitional lot, and the applicant is respecting the massing around it with the development that's being proposed here. Fourth frame shows the surrounding zoning characteristic, and again, we do have relief in the form of D relief with respect to the B2 zone, where the applicant is looking for use relief to allow mixed-use low-rise, not permitted in the B2 zone. Likewise, we are in, I'll say, a split lot condition as well here with the R2 in the back, where mixed-use low-rise is also not permitted. So mixed-use is not permitted in either one of these particular zones. That's the core relief. Now, from a practical standpoint, you've heard the applicant say that it started out with investing in a piece of this property and it has grown by assemblage. So I applaud our applicant here, not only for his passion in the site, but also, of course, in the ability to assemble land that would supply the carrying capacity for the development that's before the board. This is a vacant and abandoned lot, certainly not contributing anything positive to the streetscape on Crooks Avenue. This is going to be a very substantial investment in the site, which will be a betterment or a benefit to both the site, the neighborhood, and the community at large. Next couple of frames, frame number 6, frame number 7, frame number 8, all give a sense of the, I'll say, the non-residential characteristic of the area. This is going to pull in a resident population that will support those local businesses, and again, lending to the fact that if you live here, you have easy, reasonable access by foot to many eateries. You have the supermarket not too far away as well. All again, lending itself to a relatively pedestrian-friendly environment that lessens the reliance on the automobile. We've got, of course, the CVS across the street as well, so that also bolsters the non-residential amenity in the area. With respect to the relief that the applicant is seeking from the B2 and the R2 zoning requirements, again, you heard that we are looking for use relief, that's the D1 variance, interrelated D relief for floor area and for density. Now, importantly, I think Mr. Paparazzi did a good job at the outset of giving you the read of the numbers that the applicant is seeking the relief here. Also bear in mind with that additional parcel that the applicant has provided, the effective land area, I know it's not connected, is 22,500 square feet. So to the extent that the applicant is looking for a D4 variance for FAR with a maximum of 1.4, if we were to include that additional parcel, we're actually at 1.8. So the degree of departure, looking at the effective land mass here, is not substantial from that 1.4 threshold. Likewise, the density at 50 units an acre would translate with this particular additional land mass, 25.82 or 26 units, and we're looking at a proposal of 32 units here. So again, not a substantial departure from the overall zone scheme. We've got interrelated C relief that you've heard at the outset what they all are, for lot dimensions, for setbacks, for coverage, for parking, and for open space. Key as a predicate to the planning conclusions that I've raised was the traffic and parking testimony. The actual supply here will meet the actual demand. In that regard, the site has adequate capacity to accommodate both the density and the floor area that's before the board. In terms of the project positives, there are numerous project positives here. Project will generate a consumer population to support local businesses. We call them, of course, the walking wallets. Project will promote revitalization, which is a key goal of the city master plan. Project will improve the aesthetics of the site and add value and quality to the area. And the project is consistent with planning goals for efficient land use and a variety of land uses in appropriate locations. As I said, the site is particularly suited for the use. It is a mixed-use blend of the uses that are around it, and there's this symbiotic relationship whereby the residents will support the businesses, and the businesses will provide service to the residents. In terms of the negative criteria, with respect to where the applicant has landed now, the application as a whole, no variances of a substantially adverse nature are unresolved or unidentified at this point. The use is compatible with the mixed character of the area. The floor area is appropriate as it creates variety on the street without overpowering the street. The density is appropriate because the site can accommodate the same in terms of the parking and utility demand. Again, the parking demand will meet the actual supply with reliance upon the testimony of a traffic expert. The setbacks are generally consistent with what I would call a Main Street theme, as we're starting to see emerge here on Crooks Avenue, a nice continuous street wall effect. Project as a whole does not constitute overdevelopment. It is actually, on the contrary side, going to be a catalyst for development in the street. It will not create overcrowding in that the unit sizes are not undersized here. And the overall massing is appropriate for the setting that the project is within. It's going to create a premium building, again, a substantial investment of the site, and I think create a catalyst or a signature site in the landscape of the area. With respect to open space, the site does have access to recreation and community amenities, also access to a bus and the like, and in that regard, availability of alternate modes of transportation are available. All said, this is a very, very positive application, extreme weight on the positive side here, with no substantially detrimental effects on the neighborhood. In that regard, I would conclude that statutory criteria for grant of all the relief are met, and approval is warranted here. With that, I'll pause, and I will open up for any more questions.
Thanks, Mr. McDonald.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. McDonough, for the most part, I agree with the testimony. I do have a little bit of an issue with reducing the bulk requirements by using the lot on Knickerbocker, only because I'm getting background. Is that just an echo or is that me?
We're all getting it, I think.
I'm checking it, one moment, please continue.
Okay. The reason why it's a little bit, in my opinion, different is because from the center of the lot to the door of the application, you have 800 feet. And to reduce the numbers that I have based on that lot, is a little bit of a stretch in my opinion. I don't think that the variances requested are major, but there are some issues that I do have. For one, how is the building not going to stand out as, let's say, as a sore thumb when all the buildings in about 4 or 5 blocks that I went are 2 and 2 stories, 2 and 2.5 stories. Now you're going up twice as high. So how do you prevent that from not, let's say, sticking out like a sore thumb in that neighborhood? I'll ask that first.
Sure, and I think the answer is in the architecture. I think our architect here has done a very good job at, I'll say, lightening the mass of the building, making it appear lighter visually with the substantial glazing that the applicant is proposing to break up some of that non-transparent massing. I think it also comes down to the way the building has been broken up to look at as though it's little tiers or I'll say little components of almost like a village type setting. I know the height is there, but the applicant has done a great job of breaking up the massing of the building. I'll say with the vertical change in materials, with colors, and the overall look of the building. So, and of course, it's an attractive building, which in my opinion does not categorize it as an eyesore, but actually as an accent or a signature building in the landscape. And personally, I think variety in the skyline adds visual interest. It avoids monotony, and I think to have a little accent here at this particular location does a good thing visually.
I wasn't saying that there was a variance here, because okay, I was just saying that based on the neighborhood, that's how I saw that. Again, the open space, I know Nassau is going to adjust his plan, but the open space does have to deal with property in question and not property, down the block or across the street in Clifton or wherever. So, being that they're all 2 families, chance that there may be children, and open space would play a part, especially since you have the building on the line in the front, on the line on the sides. So, I thought that was area of concern as well. Again, it may work as far as parking, and it may not work. You are 40 spots short, and actually outside, you have less than 1 per unit. I know you have 1.5 per unit as the traffic expert testified to, but that's 800 feet away from the door, which is considerable, especially in bad weather. And the construction requirement for mass transit, we only have the 190. I'm not sure if that reduction justified by the 190, because you do have the issue of maybe road construction, accidents, bad weather, where, where maybe a half hour every trip, it turns into 45 minutes. Yeah. And it could be, again, it could work, then again, it could not. So, I'm just going to lay that out for the board, and obviously, I leave it to their discretion, because my big concern here was parking. And I know the board members know the area, and I'm sure I know that the applicant has made a lot of steps to try to get parking. So, and I'm sure he will continue because in case there is another restaurant or something else that might go in, but that's the only thing I can see really that it may impose a negative impact on the application because I did go to the site twice. And both times I couldn't park on Crooks or Knickerbocker. So that's my concern. But again, I will defer that to the commissioners. And other than that, I really didn't have an issue with the bulk requirements that I had, not using the additional lot, although the additional lot comes in. I can't really reduce, like, for example, lot coverage. You can't really reduce that. That lot is 800 feet away. You know, I mean, the density, that has nothing to do with the residential, you know, building. But anyway, but even with mine, we don't have a big issue with. My big issue with just how.
500 square foot, 500 feet away.
Well, yeah, Nassau has 650, but that's to the property line. I'm just telling you what Nassau has on his plan.
It's right here. This is the picture.
He has 650 on his plan, but that's to the property.
Story 1 mile.
To the building.
That's exacting from 192 Knickerbocker to 148 Knickerbocker.
And Mr. Paparazzi, if it helps, I'm not disputing your numbers. I agree with you. I'm just saying the board can give some deference to the fact that there is some additional, but I agree with you as to the relief. The FAR is 2.2 and the density is 32 versus 15 units allowed. So.
And I agree with you too, John. I don't think it's that detrimental. Yeah. But the point I was making was to the building, up from property line to property line, and to the front door, to the center of the lot. I think if we use Master's number, even the lot from coming to the liquor office control, 100 feet, 104. But, so that's where the issue is.
Yeah, it's to the way the doctor is showing it is to the property line, but the 600 is all the way to the entrance of the building.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have for you, Mr. Donna. I don't technically disagree with you. The improvements a lot with the.
One moment, Mr. McDonough, can you just mute yourself? It's your microphone. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Maggie, for finding the villain.
You're welcome.
But, yeah, I don't have an issue per se with the requirements. My issue, where the real negative impact would come in, would be with the parking, and, that would, affect the residential on, Knickerbocker, and, again, since I couldn't find parking on Crooks, it would affect the parking on Crooks. But, everything else, basically, I could live with. I think the improvement would outweigh the detriment as far as the bulk requirements are concerned. Okay, that's all I had for Mr. McDonough, Mr. Chairman, and if there are any questions from the commissioners, I would gladly answer.
Chairman Daxton, if you can hear me, can you unmute yourself? Chairman Daxton? Let me see what I can do here. Chairman Daxton, if you can hear me, you have to hit *6.
No.
We're trying to connect with Daxton, Chairman Daxton. Okay. I apologize, he's gonna connect again. We'll just give it a moment.
Madam Secretary, we still in the meeting?
Yes, we are, I'm just waiting to get connected to to Chairman Daxton.
All right, thank you.
Hello?
Chairman Jackson?
Yeah. Can you hear me, Maggie?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can everyone hear the chairman?
I hear the chairman fine.
Okay,
Yes.
you may proceed. Gary?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have. That's all I have from Mr. McDonough, and I would answer any questions of the commissioners if there were any to answer.
Any commissioners have questions?
Mr. Baraka?
Can I open it to the public?
Yes.
Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Members of the public, in a moment, you will have an opportunity to give any statements, but now's not the time. If you have any questions of this applicant, I apologize, of this witness, please call 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Once again, if you have questions of this witness, please call 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. We're gonna give it a moment, see if anybody calls, but I know we have Mr. Velez on the phone. Mr. Velez, do you have any questions of this witness while we wait?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Through the chair, Mr. Chairman, thank you again. The plan is still there, right, correct?
Mr. Velez, are you talking about the board planner or the witness?
Actually, the witness is a planner, correct?
Yes.
Yes, yeah, he's still at the meeting, yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my question may be to the planner of the quality of the proposed plan. Do you understand the density of the city tax, correct? And population and
Yes. Yes.
correct. You as a planner, if you find another city with the same density and the same characteristics of housing, will you feel confident in bringing this plan in conclusion in that other city, correct?
Yes.
So you're 100% that this project is fitted to the area.
Yes, this is an infill development that is compatible with the area and has the carrying capacity for the density and the floor area that the applicant is proposing, yes. And it meets the test. Sorry.
And somewhere in the point of our plan of the city, do you agree in his concept, correct?
I agree with what Mr. Paparazzi just told the board, yes.
Thank you, no more questions. Thank you, Mr. Board. Any calls yet, Meg?
Not yet, sir.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Commissioner Hodges.
this question is for Gary. How many other four-story buildings are in that area?
Commissioner Hodges, I went for about 2 blocks each way, and all the buildings are 2 stories and 2.5 stories.
Okay, and there are some other large projects in that area which have parking deficits.
I can't answer that. I believe a few of those went to the planning board, so I don't know what the outcome was or what the parking deficit was.
Well, the testimony of Dr. Elatot was that there were, and I agree with him. And that's a concern that we're allowing projects like these to inundate our city and make it very, and they're all kind of short with 30 and 40 spaces missing or short, which causes us problems for parking. And that area is well traveled and well parked. So I'm just putting that on the floor.
Understood.
Mr. Paterson, and again, I don't think Mr. McDonough is prepared to give us a complete reveal of the Crooks Avenue corridor, but we would respectfully disagree that there are only 2-story and 2.5-story buildings there along Crooks Avenue. If you go through the whole run of the corridor, there's substantial development of mixed use and residential buildings that are not necessarily this number of stories, but substantially. Now, do you agree?
We actually, 2 blocks down towards Lakeview, we have a 6 unit, I'm sorry, a 48 unit apartment building.
Which has been approved.
Which has been approved by the planning board.
Mr. Malaconda, my testimony was that I made a visual inspection 2 blocks each way. I didn't go past 2 blocks. I'm sure if you go all the way to the end, and I don't know if that application, if they built it yet or it has been started, but what I visually saw on my 2 inspections, going 2 blocks each way, is what I testified to. And I'm sure if you go there, you'll see that my testimony will match what is out there. But, yeah, I didn't go the whole run. No, I didn't go the whole run. I just went, I tried to keep it within the neighborhood, but 4 blocks I thought should suffice.
Right.
But there may be, you're right, there may be, further down, and the application that Nassau just alluded to, it may not be started or built, so, but that's possible.
Yeah, it's
already built.
Okay, well then it's gotta be past 2 blocks. It's gotta be on the 3rd block, maybe past, because I went 2 blocks each way.
just east of East Railway Ave. Just past the corner of East Railway Ave and Cross. Just past the railroad tracks.
What's the maximum you can put out in that area, in that zone where they're in right now? How many stories?
Commissioner O'Brien, the application is for a low-rise apartment, so, that's allowed, 8 stories, 7 stories and 80 feet. So, that's what you're
allowed in the zone? Gary, I'm just asking, is that allowed in the zone or is that a variance? That's it, what they're proposing.
Well, no, you have to put the bulk requirements for the use that they're asking for, but the height for B2, if that's what you're asking, is 3 stories and 40 feet. But they're not putting up a B2 building, so you have to, municipal land use law and case law says that if you're putting up a low-rise building, you have to use the bulk requirements for a low-rise building. You can't use B2 requirements for a low-rise apartment building. And B2 allows 3 stories and 40 feet, but the low-rise allows 7 stories and 80 feet.
Are low-rises allowed in the B2 zone or no?
No, they're not. That's the use variance they're asking for.
We agree.
Okay, since there's no questions from the public, let's, Mr. Malaconda.
If we're ready to close, of course, yes. Thank you, first of all, Commissioners, for your patience this evening. We know it's a difficult situation with virtual at times. We appreciate the special meeting. As we've detailed through all our witnesses, both the applicant and 3 professionals, in terms of architectural, engineering, traffic engineering, and planning, I think we've established a very, very firm and solid case with respect to the granting of the site plan approval and the variances required. Clearly, this is an area in growth, an area which is creating needed new housing, needed new business services for those residents, and it's a positive boom for the city of Paterson to continue the growth on the Crooks Avenue corridor. We're very, very confident that this will meet some needs that are very much required of the city of Paterson in terms of new residential housing, which suits this type of demographic with 2 bedrooms. There's very substantial public transportation. As our experts talked about, this is an area which is what we call walkability area, where there's numerous other businesses, services, access to all kinds of needs of the community in this area. Again, we think this is a continuation of the progress and positive development on Crooks Avenue. We do believe the applicant has worked extremely diligently to provide more parking on-site and directly adjoining this site. And we do believe with this element provided, there's more than enough parking to handle the practical needs of this site. And we ask for board's consideration for a motion for approval. Thank you.
Before you give your submission, Gary, I forgot to let the public give their closing statements at this time. So I know we have the manager from Clifton here. We're going to give you 5 minutes, and the rest, whoever likes to speak will just give you 3 minutes.
Before we hear from, let me open it up to the other members of the public, so while he's speaking, we can check to see if they call. Members of the public, this is your opportunity to give a comment or statement with regard to this application. Please call if you wish to do so, 973-321-1579 and enter meeting ID number 711-680-0071. Okay, look, so while they're speaking, we could wait and see how many calls.
Mr. Chair, Dominic Volano, if I could be heard.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Dominic Volano, the city manager in Clifton. I'm also a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey with 35 years of experience in both private and municipal engineering. I've had an opportunity, and I frequent Crooks Avenue frequently, and I had an opportunity to look at the different developments that have taken place in the city of Paterson. I think this is a good application. However, when you look at the facts, and primarily the parking issue, and I've heard both the traffic engineer and the planner touch on this, but in my opinion, we really didn't touch on it well enough. My concern is this: is as these developments, larger developments, for instance, a similar one next to the McDonald's that is in the process of being finalized. If you don't provide sufficient parking, what that will do is the parking will spill over into the city of Clifton and the surrounding streets. Now, my understanding is you have a second lot within 500 feet of this site. 500 feet from this site into the city of Clifton takes you to East 2nd Street. So the concern is this, is that I think this is an overuse of the property. You have 4,344 square feet of retail. That requires 22 spaces. You have 32 two-bedroom residential, which requires 64, so you need a total of 86. You are 40 plus parking spaces short, and some of the ones that you have, you're blocking the refuse area. I saw that the handicap spaces are in front of the refuse areas, and you have 4 that are tandem parking. So the point is this, is that, in my opinion, this is a nice project, but the 2 bedrooms is too much. If you were to look at the same concept with a 1 bedroom, that will cut your parking requirement for the residential to 32 with an additional 22 required for the retail, you need a total of 54. That brings you much closer to the 46 or so spaces that you're proposing. The way you have it, you require 86 and you're only providing, I'm gonna say 46, but in actuality it's less than 46. So you're about half of the parking that's required short of. You make no provisions for visitors. The retail, I heard, well, they're gonna park on the street. Well, if you're familiar with Crooks Ave, that entire stretch is inundated as it is with all the different retail. So if you go there during the daytime, it's very difficult to find parking. So without any on-site parking, there's going to be a spillover, and the spillover is going to occur on the Clifton side. And my objection is that I don't think by approving this, you're approving too much, and you don't provide sufficient parking to accommodate the development. That's what I have. That's my statement. Thank you.
Good gentlemen.
So, never mind, I'll keep my thoughts to myself. Go ahead, Mr. Gary, go ahead.
I'm waiting here.
Yeah, okay, Mr. Valano.
I'll keep my thoughts to myself. I'll make it at the end. I'll make my closing statements at the end. Go ahead, Gary.
Okay, I just want to correct Mr. Valano. If they go to one bedrooms, the parking requirement as per RSIS is 1.8 per unit. So you still need 58 spaces, not 32. It's not 1 for 1. So RSIS says that 1 bedroom you need 1.8 parking spaces, and 2 bedrooms you need 2. That includes, like Commissioner Hodges said, visitors and so forth. So your analysis, while it may help, the number is not correct. So the number would be 58 for residential and still 22 for the commercial.
Thank you, Mr. Paterson. I want Mr. Chairman also to have an opportunity to ask Mr. Valano one or two quick questions. Mr. Valano, you indicated you're an engineer, but you haven't done any engineering studies independent of our submission of documents, have you? Mr. Valano?
No, I have not. I have not, no.
Okay. And you're appearing in your capacity as the business manager of the City of Clifton, correct?
Correct.
And are there any Clifton residents on the link or on the calls that we've heard this evening?
I am not aware. I don't know.
Okay, so we haven't heard anyone yet. We don't know of anyone that's going to testify. Is that right?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
We have not heard anyone yet. And you know of no one who resides on the Clifton side of Crooks Ave who is testifying against this project tonight?
I am not aware. I don't know who's on this call.
Okay, so we haven't heard anybody yet. We'll see if we hear from anyone who lives in the Clifton side. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Hello.
Yeah,
I believe we have Mr. Velez still on.
Mr. Chairman. Can I make my comments now?
Yes, you have 3 minutes, Mr. Velez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, respectful board, the zoning board, Madam Secretary. You know, today I've been sitting here since 7:30 at night, listening to the proposed project. And as I stated in my questions, this is a good proposal that they bring to Paterson. 5 years, and dynamic property. The owner of this property testified that he is still paying taxes, and I have bought by 5 years, so added to $250,000 in 5 years. I think that this will change dramatically the quality of life in the area. I'm well supported. Me, that I go around, I have family that live around here. I see this area improves so much that this changed the face of Paterson. And during this pandemic, a lot of people are even running from Paterson not to invest because the pandemic that we are going through. And still we have people that have faith in Paterson that have faith in what Paterson could bring to them and what it could bring to Paterson. You know, as his saying, he's a good neighbor. I saw two planners agreeing in this type of project with the conditional written approval. I could take one word that Mr. Paparazzi said. I don't know if it's going to work, and I think it's going to work on one side, but I don't know if it's going to work on the other side. Let's get the opportunity of this project to move forward and take the part that will work and make sure that the area brings a good quality of life on it. I hear what the Clifton manager is saying. I believe the city of Paterson in the future is working already in an ordinance that will restrict only to residence parking. So unfortunately, the individuals from Clifton that are parking in Paterson, they're probably going to be restricting parking in Paterson. So, you know, let's look at the positive of it. I see that this is a beautiful project to the city of Paterson and also to the zone. That area has improved a lot, and bringing businesses and bringing developing at this time, it will attract more people to come to Paterson and invest. Let's set the precedent that nowadays we cannot construct sideways, that we have to go up because we don't have a lot of land, but at least this applicant has done enough to bring more parking to the area, inquiring other lands that we testify today. So this is the vision of Paterson. This is the vision of the residents of Paterson to see progressive development like this one. So I urge you, the board, to do the smart decision and bring more neighbors like that to Paterson. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, the board, to listen to me. Hopefully, this project move forward.
Mr. Chair? Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I wanted to ask Councilman Velez a question.
Go ahead.
Mr. Councilman, you mentioned that in the future there's some consideration about having parking restrictions to primarily to Paterson residents.
I said, I'm here as not a councilman here, but Louis Velez, yeah, correct. So it's my understanding that the city will impose a residence parking permit only. It's going to be also for some main, they still in the works. It's going to be more enforced during the night, and that's still on the open. So because during the day we cannot restrict commercial couriers and type of business around.
That's a brand new approach. Why did the city feel that that's necessary?
Well, I heard concerns of the 6th Ward Councilman that a lot of the residents from Clifton are parking in the Paterson side. So I want to go into this is not part of the application, but we could have that discussion in the office if you want, and I could give you that.
My concern, the issue seems to be a lack of parking in the area, which is why the residents are concerned, and that's what I'm concerned about.
We could discuss that topic out of this application, and I will tell you what is the city will do to put the fair parking in the city.
Mr. Chairman, Council, I want the record to reflect that this is not part of our presentation, and whatever residency requirement about parking that's being discussed as a hypothetical, I don't believe has any bearing on this application.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, can I make my comment, Mr. Chair?
Just hold on a second. Mr. LaRocca, has anyone from called in?
Secretary?
There are no calls at this time, sir.
All right. To the gentleman who just spoke.
Someone say yes? Who's that?
Lee Mongali, I'm waiting.
Okay. So before we call Mr. Mongali, the gentleman who just spoke a moment ago, what was your name, sir?
Mr. Muhammad.
Okay, please state your full name on the record again.
Amin Mohammed.
Okay, sir, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. I just wanted to comment and say that I agree with Councilman Velez as a resident and a next door neighbor. My address is 126 Knickerbocker Avenue. As a resident and a next door neighbor, I appreciate the developer meeting with us and other neighbors and being transparent and let us know what's going on. The entire area is changing, and I believe that it will increase property value for myself and other homeowners. And as a neighbor and a resident, I just support the project, so I just wanted to, say that comment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mondell?
Yes, thank you for allowing me to speak. I just want to introduce myself to the other members on the board. My name is Lee Mondelli. I used to be a commissioner on that board for almost 8 years. I live in this neighborhood where this building is being proposed. I've been living here since 1978. You do the math. So I'm not against the project itself. I know the project. I know the architect. They're very nice people, very good people. However, I do have a problem with the parking issue, like we all have in throughout the whole city of Paterson. Parking is an issue. Now, I just walked down to the property just a few moments ago when I logged off of this call, just to come walking down there to see what kind of parking is there right now. And there's no parking. Knickerbocker Ave is one of the most densely parked streets in the whole city. And, you need to look at this project to downsize it, to make it more agreeable to the neighborhood. Not only is the parking is the issue, but you also have the height of the building is an issue itself. So what Gary Paparazzi was saying that it's within 2 blocks there is no building of that size, he's exactly correct. There is a building that's similar in size, it's 4 stories, and that's about 3 blocks away across East Railway Ave, and that's where that building is. But in the area itself, it's all 2 families, it's all 1 and 2 family homes, and we know a lot of those 2 family homes may be more than 2 family homes. So the parking on that street is very tight. Parking on Crooks Ave is very tight. So if you're building a building that doesn't have the amount of parking that it should, the person from the city of Clifton was saying about spillage. He's going to have spillage all over on his side, not only from Paterson residents, but all the residents from this building are not to be parking that lot because there's not enough parking here. And there's not enough for visitors. If you have deliveries, you're going to have problems with that. It's just, it's a great project. It just needs to be downsized. And the commissioners should think about that. Also, another thing that commissioners should think about, because I know the councilman or Mr. Louis Velez and the property owner talks about how much money they spend. Well, you really can't take that into consideration. The money they spend is the money they spend. I mean, no one told them to do this. This is a gamble. And, when you're going to gamble like that, sometimes you lose. So, you really can't take the money aspect into it. That should not be in consideration for the commissioners to think about. What you should think about is quality of life, parking, does the building fit area. In my 8 years of being on that board, I have voted no sometimes on some of these projects because they're overdeveloped. And this one is another case. It's overdeveloped. But thank you for listening to me. I appreciate the time, and I hope you all have a good night. Thank you.
Can I object?
Mr. Chairman, can I?
I'm sorry, he's using he said he was on the board, he's using this for him to hurt people? He would not be allowed to say this.
No.
Let's, Mr. LaRocca, is there any other people from the public?
Mr. Chairman?
Who's speaking?
Yes. It's Councilman Velez. I just want to address the clarification of the statement of Mr. Londelli.
Go ahead, sir.
May I? Yeah. Mr. Londelli, and I want to use my statement as a debate with his position in the past or whatever in the board. When I brought up as a taxpayer that he is, yes, you have to take into consideration because he is paying taxes in a property that he's not using in the way that he wants to use it. So you have to take credit that this individual is a good neighbor and he's paying his taxes and he's staying in Paterson and investing in Paterson. And that's the part that we want people to understand. We don't want to scare people out of Paterson. We want to keep it in Paterson for your taxes to go over when we bring new investment and new development in the city of Paterson, houses, 1 family, 2 families, 3 families, the rate of taxes could go down when we have investment in the city of Paterson. Regarding parking, okay, I bet you Knickerbocker, I could go up and down Knickerbocker. I lived 15 years in Michigan and Wabash, real close from there, okay? Every single house has a driveway and has a place to park. If they're parking in the street, it's because a lot of people have their houses overcrowded. That's why they don't have parking. But in this case, this is a good application. It's a taxpayer of the city of Paterson, and I think we should be having an opportunity to move this project forward. And that's what I want to say. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf
Thank you, Mr.
Mr. Chairman, on behalf of the applicant, I just want to indicate 2 things. Mr. Mondelli does not live within 200 feet of the site. He confirmed that himself. Also want to, again, ask through council that his comments and appearing references to his past voting record and all these other items about his career on the Board of Adjustments, I really don't think should be considered relevant to the record in this case whatsoever. Okay, I think that's really unfair for his testimony at this time. This is a specific new application before the board, and I ask it to be considered in that fashion. And again, I know there's been comments about money that was invested into the property by Mr. Velez and by the applicant. He's just voicing some personal, reference and concern about his investment in the property. But we understand fully that financial concerns are not part of the application, and we don't ask the board to take any consideration about financial matters. We want the application to be decided on its merits, and I think its merits are extremely substantial. This is a site that's going to be a real positive for the city of Paterson. The general parking problems in the city of Paterson, whether it be nearby or elsewhere in the city, keep getting referred to. Those are not specific to this site, and those are unfair comparisons to make as generalities, and we keep hearing that over and over. Thank you.
Gary, you want?
My closing statement, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Chairman, Commissioners, I certainly believe that the site needs to be developed. I don't have too many issues with the bulk requirements that are, the variances that are created. I do have an issue with the parking, and the issue is that, like Mr. McDonough said, it's possible that it can work, but it's also possible that it won't work. And that's why we have a guideline called RSIS, which is Residential Site Improvement Standard. They sort of taking everything into consideration. Now, I sort of disagree with Mr. Korak's testimony because I'm not sure the 190 is enough mass transit to offset 40 parking spaces that are short. Now, it certainly may, but it certainly has an opportunity not to. So, as I do with all my applications, I defer the parking to the commissioners, because obviously you know the area better than I do. And, each application is determined separately. Now, if the application should be approved, NASR, you have to change your 850 square feet and, on the, east side of lot 24, if you're going to use that as open space, show what you're going to show over there, okay?
Yes.
On your, off-site parking, the two-way aisle should be 24 and the parallel spaces should be 8 feet, so it fits. And that one space should be eliminated because of a potentially dangerous situation. Mr. Malconda, the survey that I have does not include that lot number 24. And Nassau shows it on his plan, but Nassau is not a licensed surveyor. So if the application should be approved to verify Nassau's information, you do need a signed seal survey. I'm not talking about the separate lot. I'm talking about the proposal lot that shows 3, 23, and 24. Okay, so we need a separate survey for that.
Okay.
And along with Nassau's revisions. So commissioners, if I can answer any questions, I will. The application as presented is 40 spaces short. But again, I rely on your determination of the area and parking. And again, each application is considered differently and separately. And if you have a question for me that I can answer, I certainly will. And I defer that parking situation to you. That is my biggest concern. The other variances, I think I can live with, and I think the improvement would outweigh those variances requirements. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners.
Excuse me. Can I get a motion?
Before you get a motion, Chairman, can I make a statement?
Go ahead, Ms. Watson.
Hello, everyone. As a Paterson resident all my life and working throughout Paterson, I travel through each ward in this city. And throughout my travels, as a Patersonian, we appreciate the developers who choose to come to Paterson and build up.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Commissioner Fernan, you need to mute your phone, please.
With that being said, going forward with the parking issues that we're having in Paterson, it would be thoughtful if you guys would, and women, that for every building that you decide to build with apartments, for every apartment, there comes the amount of parking spaces needed for each apartment. It would make Paterson traffic so much easier and better. And that's all I have to say as a Patersonian in Paterson. So with the parking space, yes, you go through these awards, there's double parking because in certain wards you have people that are building high rises 4 and 5 floors tall. And then when delivery trucks come in, do you know how they take over one side of the street? People can't even get past. So with that being said, there needs to be parking for each apartment. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
And this is Jonathan Hodges. I'm going to reiterate, I was not aware of that the city was considering having residential parking, but the reason they're doing that is because there's a shortage of parking. And because we are having a lot of these projects that are being built without appropriate amount of parking to accommodate all the people that you bring in here. Or certainly not to cover all the units. And so this is a major problem for this community. It's getting much worse as these new structures come into Paterson with all these new projects get developed. And I hear what's been said by the traffic engineers, but that's not what when you live here and you have to negotiate the streets of the city, it's getting harder and harder to do that. And it's getting harder and harder to park in this community. And that's an issue that people are raising time and time again. You don't hear it, but we certainly do. So, and when I park, it's hard to do that. So, this is a concern to us. And I keep on raising this issue, and it keeps on getting ignored, but this is an issue that would have to be considered increasingly in the city of Paterson. So when you're making your projects, that has to be something that you put, that you think about ahead of time, because if you don't, it makes it hard for us to approve these projects.
We're still waiting for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask which commissioners are voting tonight? I know there are 8 commissioners.
Go ahead, Mr.
We have 7 regular members?
Yes, hi, Mr. Chairman, this is our Commissioner.
Hold on 1 second. Yes, hold on 1 second, Commissioner. Yes, we do, Mr. Maricondo.
And I only had last meeting.
Maggie, who's the alternate this evening?
Give me 1 second, I'm having a problem trying to connect another commissioner who I lost as well. There were 2 commissioners I lost, we're trying to connect them back on.
That's fine, before you do that, who's the alternate?
The alternate is Trinace Watkins.
Right, the other alternates?
That is it.
Commissioner Furman, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner?
Yes?
You had something to say?
Yes, and I would like to make the motion, but for the record, can I please make a comment?
Before you do that, can all the commissioners, if your cameras are not on, can you please put your cameras on for the vote?
I'm also trying to reach Commissioner Minaudo, so if you can just hold off for a second, so that I can get her back on, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioners, this is Gary Paparosi again. If you make the motion for the approval to include those changes in the survey, you need to include the provisions for the retail not to have any seats. Because Mr. Maricondo will agree, I'm sure. Of course, that was part of the testimony, so it should be in the resolution. So if you make that motion, just please include that with your motion. Thank you.
Yes, hi, good evening, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Maricondo, did your client earlier make a statement that he would, if he needed extra parking, he would find extra lots?
What he indicated was
Or
right
did I
now,
just see that?
sale without seats, and if he were to consider any other user or tenant that required parking variance, he would of course understand that he would have to come back to the board with a new application. But that's not what we're presenting tonight. We're strictly limiting it to retail with no seating.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to make sure that I heard the right thing.
Understood.
Maggie, were you able to get her?
Commissioner Minato, are you there? She was just on and I lost her again. Okay, give me one more moment. She is connecting again. One more moment. We can continue now. Commissioner Minato, are you there?
I'm here, Maggie, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, Commissioner Commissioner Furman?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, you go ahead and make your statement, and if you want to make a motion, go ahead.
Yes, I would like to make a statement.
Go ahead.
I believe this is a great project, and we all concerned about the parking, which is fine, but we have to understand something. We're talking about 2-bedroom. Most of the time, people living in the same apartment, they don't drive 2 cars. Therefore, I would like to take the first motion for approval of this project.
Maggie, could you read the motion for approval?
Commissioner Furman, would that be within my recommendations for the tenants to be revised, the survey, and the retail to be limited to the testimony?
That is correct, yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, so the motion to approve is on the floor regarding, first motion by Commissioner Furman. He makes a motion that the application of 141-147 Crooks Avenue LLC concerning the premises at 141-147 Crooks Avenue to construct a new 5-story mixed-use building to accommodate 4,344 square feet of ground floor retail, parking, and 32 residential apartments on a 100-foot by 100-foot lot located in the B2 zone. Parking is for 13 vehicles, will be provided on the first floor at 193-195 Knickerbocker Avenue. The second and fifth floors will contain 8 two-bedroom apartments per floor for a total of 32 two-bedroom apartments. The applicant is providing 33 on-site parking spaces and 13 parking spaces at 193-195 Knickerbocker Avenue, whereas 86 parking spaces are required. The 75 by 100-foot lot at 144-148 Knickerbocker Avenue is located in an R2 zone. The proposed use for the lot is a driveway to access the site. Crooks Avenue is a county road. Be granted. And subject to the review and approval, if applicable, of the following but not limited to city engineer, Passaic County Planning Board, Passaic County Engineer, HEP Soil Conservation District, and building codes of the state of New Jersey with all the conditions that were noted earlier by Mr. Paparazzi. And he so moves, and there's a second. Who's your second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
And the reason I'm making a motion to second it is because I agree with everything that was said tonight. And I agree with what you said, Commissioner Watkins. But our last 3 applications, and I hate to bring this up, every one of them were knocked down because there's no parking, which to me doesn't really make any sense at all. Not at all. If we keep knocking these applications down because of no parking, then there shouldn't be any, actually, there shouldn't be any discussion about parking if the person that wants to build these projects, I agree they should think about parking, but I believe this is an excellent project. And regardless of what the Clifton city manager said about parking spilling over on the other side of the street, well, how about them coming over and parking in Paterson all the time? So, my motion is to second that motion. Thank you.
Commissioners, you've heard the motion. Commissioners, Commissioner Dumas, how do you vote? Commissioner Dumas? Okay, I didn't know she was gone. Okay. Commissioner Furman?
My vote is yes.
Thank you. Just let me check very quickly and see if Commissioner Dumas is there. One moment, please. I'm sorry. Can you hear me, Commissioner Dumas?
Yes, I
Can anyone else hear her?
Yes.
What are the last 2 digits of your phone number, please? What are the last 2 digits of your phone number?
Yeah.
Secretary, do you have her?
I'm trying to get her back on the line. She's gonna call back in. I don't know what the problem is or the issue is.
Or why don't you continue with the vote and we'll stop
Okay,
and
that's fine.
we'll see.
Okay, Commissioner Hodges, how do you vote, sir?
But let me just say that the reason why we voted against those projects was because of the parking. And it isn't up to the developers to determine what's in the best interest of Paterson. That's our job. If we don't control how these projects are built, then nobody else is going to. They don't have to make those changes and worry about the people who live here. We do. And if we don't have a better sense of the standard for our community, nobody's going to. So that's why I vote against the parking. That's why I want people to understand it is a problem for our citizens who live here. If you can't park your car, then it's hard for you to live where you want to live. So it is a major concern. It's a worsening problem in this community, and unless we convince developers to do a better job at designing projects that will accommodate our citizens, then that won't change. With that being said, I'm voting no for this project.
Thank you.
Commissioner, no.
Commissioner Dumas?
Yes, this is me.
Your vote, please.
No.
Commissioner Levine?
Yes.
Commissioner Rinaldo? Commissioner Rinaldo? I lost you too, okay. Commissioner Rohim? Commissioner Rohim?
Yes, Maggie.
What is your vote, sir?
I say yes.
Commissioner Rinaldo? Are you there?
Yes, Maggie, I'm here.
What is your vote?
My vote is yes.
Chairman Daxton?
Yes.
5 yes, 2 no.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your consideration of this application. Thank you very much.
We have no further business at this time. Mr. Chairman, a motion for closing the meeting. Hello? Commissioners, please do not go anywhere.
I'm here, Maggie. Move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
He did. I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second, good night.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. This meeting has been adjourned. Good evening.
Enjoy your week.